right, welcome to another episode of the LogiCast. My name is BlankaKong, and I'm joined by Gunner Eos today. And
Hello.
we're going to be doing another tier list for Monster Hunter, but we're not going to talk about the monsters. We're going to talk about all of the maps and pretty much all of the Monster Hunters, with the exception of Monster Hunter Frontier. But yeah, we're going to be. I'm pretty sure this tier list covers all of the maps from Monster Hunter 1 all the way to Monster Hunter Rise, Sunbreak. So yeah, we're gonna kind of start from the bottom. I think. Should we start from like old Monster Hunter to new Monster Hunter? How do you think we should do this, Gunner?
Yeah, I kind of like that idea. Old to new. Yeah, from where it started to where we currently are. I like that.
All right, so yeah, I'll do my best to go in the correct order. So, all right. Let's see, Monster Hunter 1. Where is it? Am I blind? Old Volcano, Old Swamp. There we go. Okay. So I
Yeah.
guess we could start with the old jungle. Now, this jungle is the one, if you remember, there was like this one had like the forest areas, and there were like a lot of trees kind of blocking your way. And in the back of the level, there was like a big pond or a big river that Plesioff would stay in. That's where you would fight Plesioff.
Yes. Yes.
And then like
Yes.
curving to the right would be like a cave system where you would fight like Blafangos and you know eye praise and stuff like that.
Right.
Do you
Right.
recall
That
that?
was. I think so. That was the one that I might be mixing up jungles. That's the one that had like the temple in the back that sometimes you would fight the daimyo hermits are in. Or
No.
am I confusing
That
jungles?
jungle is the jungle from Monster Hunter 2, Freedom 2, and like Freedom Unite. This
Okay.
jungle in the back of the level, so to speak, is just a plain cave system, and you would fight Kezu at the end of that. Don't know if you remember that.
Right. Yeah, yeah, okay. Yes, yeah. It's
You
all
would also
coming
fight
back.
Kieran here too.
Yes. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, in your opinion,
Oh man.
where does this map fall on? And like, let's talk about real quick, like the parameters of like what makes a good map. So, I'm gonna say, um, I don't want to say graphics because that's gonna be like
So yeah, like everything from
from
world and
freaking world to yeah, from one to world or one to rise. That's kind of unfair. So I'm gonna say like just general aesthetics, like whether or not it if in your opinion it accomplished what it wanted to from a if you had to like pick the brains of the designers. Was it fun to traverse? Was it confusing? Was it easy to traverse?
Okay.
How versatile it was, and was the versatility successful? That sort of thing. Like, was it a
Right.
functioning level for like Monster Hunter games?
Okay. So like
Um,
aesthetics, opinions on aesthetics, and then how it
like
services.
functionality.
All right.
How did it
Okay.
function as a Monster Hunter map? Because Monster
Okay.
Hunter maps are. It's important that um, like a Monster Hunter game is very different from like a regular action adventure game. Like a level design for like Devil May Cry is very different from Monster Hunter because like it's all boss fights pretty much, right? So
Yeah.
and not everything can be an open arena, right? There has to be open arenas, but in Monster Hunter there also needs to be like a certain level of like realistic like ecosystem. Like this needs to feel like this is a real world you would traverse in. I think that's important when judging the
Okay.
map. Does that make sense?
Okay, no, I get you. I get you. You want to feel like because it's supposed to be a world that your character is living in, and a good map design kind of reflects it makes it believable that this is a believable world that people and creatures, big and small, inhabit. So it's not just which we'll get into, it's not just an arena where you fight big creature. Because I think a lot of other hunting games during this time, they kind of lost that map design because when they saw Monster Hunter, they said, "Oh, it's all about the monsters." So a lot
Yeah.
of other hunting games during this like weird, not weird, but like a boom where hunting games became really. a lot of other hunting games focused on the monsters, bigger the better, monsters doing crazier things, and a lot of their map designs were very bland and throwaway, and they loved using a.
Yeah,
So,
this is true. I'm thinking of games like Ragnarok Odyssey on the PSP Vita. I'm
yep,
thinking of God Eater. I'm thinking
God
of Soul
Eater,
Sacrifice,
the
Tokiden.
one Tokiden, there you go, that one, yeah,
Like
yeah,
those games
yeah.
were fine. Like they were competent games, but their level design left a lot to be desired from memory. I could be, you know, I
No,
could
from
be
what I
unfairly
remember,
judging.
true, true. But from what I remember, it just felt like, oh, we need a place to fight the monster. So obviously their maps were themed around where the games took place, but they were very simple, like very simple arena style maps, very small maps, not like Monster Hunter where it felt like a world and you would just notice little things. So
Mm.
so yeah, I think that's good to get that distinction. But back to the tier list, um I personally think Old Jungle, and this might be a little spoiler alert, but kind of like the OG maps, I think make a good B tier candidate because
Hmm.
they're kind of this was like the first Monster Hunter or one of the like the first Monster Hunter games. So a lot of their maps were very simple and to the point. They didn't have a lot of the extravagancies, a lot of the vertical Z axis type scaling that we have in later Monster Hunter games. A lot of them are mostly flat surfaces. Maybe some of them have a little bit of climbing, but not crazy. So I personally think B's a good spot for the OG jungle.
I'd agree. That's kind of where I defaulted. Old Jungle. My heart said A, but my brain said B. So I'm
Yeah,
very
okay.
nostalgic for Monster Hunter, like the first two generations of Monster Hunter. I'm very nostalgic for those maps, and have a lot of both positive and negative experiences playing those maps. But like I'll just speak to old Monster Hunter for a second, with the lens of like knowing what future Monster Hunter is or
Right.
what present
Okay.
Monster Hunter is. So what I like about the old jungle map is I'm like kind of replaying it in my head. A trick that they did in the old games was they would have all of the foliage and all of like the bamboos and all that, all the just the general forest stuff in your way. Whereas in later Monster Hunters, things would like disappear as you get closer to it to not obstruct your camera view. But I think having it obstruct your camera view only added to the hunt. It made it feel more like you're fighting out of your element. Even though some people would consider that bad design, I think it added to the overall experience, in my opinion. Right, I might be alone on this one, but for me, it definitely added because there would be like blind spots, and if this was real, right? If just indulge me for a second, if we were really hunting these creatures in this like uncivilized jungle area, like if we were to go to the Amazon in Brazil or something like that, and go to a place like that, they we're trying to hunt something out there, like we are not at an advantage whatsoever, right? We're at a complete disadvantage
No,
at every sense of the word, and I think that the old jungle maps kind of captured that too, if that makes
yeah, like
sense.
the I get it, because the dense foliage of the jungle would make it hard to see. And if, let's say, in the real world, a big cat would jump from one tree to the other, the tree doesn't magically disappear because we have to save Ram, right? The tree's gonna stay there. So I get what you're saying about the it being cluttered, and while one branch of gamer would go, this is annoying, this is bad design, another branch of gamer will go, yeah, well, I'm fighting in the jungle. It's tons of foliage everywhere. So I get that. I get that. I get that.
Another point I wanted to bring up before I move on to the next map is, like you said before, the older Monster Hunter games, because of the hardware limitations, they didn't have the luxury of having like a Z axis, where we started to see that in Monster Hunter 3 with the water combat, and Monster Hunter 4 with the climbing and the mounting onward. In Monster Hunter 2
Right.
below, everything was a very flat surface. So in order to create like a certain level of like exploration and density in the maps, they would have like each area would be very different from one to another, but still be somewhat connected. So in the jungle, the first few zones that you explore is just like this deep forest, jungle-like area, right? And then you get to the middle of the map, and it's like this. It's like half jungle, and then the other half is the pond or the river that Plesioff likes to swim and fight in. And then
Yes,
when you go
yes.
deeper, there's like this flat arena. You don't do a lot of fighting there. It's where you get frogs. I don't know if you remember that, but it's the area where you get frogs, and like it's like a rocky area with like some foliage, and it's like it's just constant water. It's like water up to about your ankle, kind of running
Vaguely,
through,
okay.
heading into the cave system. And once you get into the cave system, it's like it's a cave, right? So just yeah, if you ever played Monster Hunter 2, you know what those caves look like. But it's a cave that's like very swampy, and very you could just feel the wetness in the air. At least that's what they were going for, and that's where you would fight like things like Kezu or whatever. And then like
Yes.
on the other side of the map, it would be like it would be back to like kind of a more jungle feel where you would fight Kieran. I remember there just being a big log in on the right side of the map, and I just remember fighting Kieran there a lot. So I think the way they kind of like combated the lack of like technology or hardware limitation is by kind of creating like each zone has to kind of like bring something new to the table, but
Yeah.
still make sense to the world that you're trying to create. So,
Okay.
um, so anyway, with that being said, let's move on to the next old map, and let's talk Old Desert. So I'm gonna just put it here for now.
Okay.
Old Desert.
Huh.
Do I think it's better than Jungle? Um, no, I think it's a weaker map than Jungle. This this is one of the levels in Old Monster Hunter that has like the least amount going on, but I think that makes sense because it is a desert land, so it shouldn't
Right.
have so much life going on, right? And what I like about what I like about Old Desert is they do the same thing that they did in Jungle, where Old Desert would have, I don't know if you remember, there would be like these very little zones that you would fight Genprey at, and there would be like
Yeah.
these areas would be cool because they would be kind of like underground, not much going on in these caves, right? In these like little areas, but they were like considered like break areas or areas where you would get like certain herbs that wouldn't grow out there in the bigger chunks
Right.
of land.
Yes, I remember. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
there was also like another cave system where you would fight Plesioff. And then outside of that, there was like another piece of like large landmass where you would fight the I forget the name of the herbivores, the brown herbivores that attack you. They would chill in that area, and then the other half would be the water area that connects to that water cave. Where you would fight Plesioff in two areas. You would fight him in that area and the cave area. I don't know if you
Yeah, he
recall
would
that.
swim. Yeah, he would swim between those two. Yeah.
Yeah, so I like this map a lot, but I think it is weaker compared to Jungle, and I think it's still in B tier.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I mean, I mean, you said it. Desert maps are kind of hard in Monster Hunter because it's supposed to be a desert,
Yeah,
and
deserted. Duh.
right, some of these maps they try a little bit. I think we'll get to them, but I think some desert maps are a little higher because they add certain elements to it to make it kind of like, oh well, they kind of play off more on what you were talking about, that some areas would kind of be like an oasis area where there would be a lot of foliage and there'd be like clean water in the middle, and then the desert, and then like the further outwards you went in the map, that's when like it started becoming more arid, and that's when you had the desert. And I think the desert likes to keep these either one or two big zones that are just flat desert sand. I've noticed that with a lot of the desert maps, they'll always have at least one, mostly two areas that are the biggest parts of the map. That's where they'll have like your staging grounds for your Diablos, your Black Diablos, Tiger X, your, like, that's where you'll fight your bigger monsters, especially the Diablos, and before him the Monoblos. So yeah, mm, yeah, I think Old Desert is in a good spot. like I said, me personally, kind of spoiler alert, a lot of the old OG Monster Hunter maps are gonna kind of sit in like the B tier. Me personally,
Yeah.
we'll see if you can like if you'll bring up good points to kind of maybe change my opinion on it. But yeah, I think B is fine. Definitely behind Jungle, because if we compare these two right now, I like Jungle a lot more personally.
I agree. So that's where Old Desert goes. And just the last point on Old Desert, and just piggybacking off what you mentioned, I think they designed Old Desert with Diablos in mind. Like this was kind of like, okay, we need a map for this kind of monster that just charges through and digs underground.
Yeah.
I think the level just kind of was built around him, and then it became kind of the standard for desert maps, moving forward in the Monster Hunter franchise.
Yeah. Yeah.
So moving on, Old Swamp. So, um, I will say Old Swamp is probably better than Old Desert, but I don't think it's as cool as Jungle. So with Old Swamp, what was cool about this one is, depending on the time of day, would determine certain field hazards. So I think at night there would be poison lakes that you can run into by accident.
Yeah.
And if it was during the day, it would just be muddy water. So that was definitely a cool thing that was exclusive to the swamp. I love how foggy the swamp is. This is one of my favorite old levels, even though I think Jungle's a more functional map when compared to directly, but I think it's a very close second. I think these two maps are very similar in like their design process and their thought process. Um, I mean, I could put it above Old Jungle just for the poison factor. Um, but I guess sure, I'll put it up there just because it has one more thing over Jungle. But besides that, there's like the cave systems where you fight the crab monsters, uh, Gypsios or Geisferos, however you want to pronounce his name. He's in this map. This is like one of his primary maps. This is the first map where you fight Blue Kut. You fight Elder
Oh,
Dragons here as well. You fight Teostra here. So I have a lot of fond memories of this map.
yeah. Me, yeah. Personally, this is my personal favorite of the OG maps. I don't know. It was just something very simple about it. It was ultimately flat. Like that. Again, I know this is kind of a recurring theme for the old maps, but this was compared to the other OG Monster Hunter. This one, to me anyway, felt the flattest of all. Like those muddy water slash poison areas you were talking about were just flat. It
Mhm.
was like it was no elevation, there was no curve, it was flat. And I think the only elevation you had was to get to another area. You had to climb like a small little ledge, and then you would go into another area. I remember doing that a lot, and
Yeah.
I, I remember always bitching those three cave areas needed hot drinks, and they were the only times you needed hot. So back in old Monster Hunter, I needed to use up an inventory slot just in case it went into that area. And sometimes I said, fuck it, hopefully it leaves. So I just let my stamina run low because I was like, I don't want to bring a hot drink for one area. But anyway,
Well, that was a
that
recurring thing for all these areas. So, like Old Desert, if you were out during the day, you would need cool drinks for the outside parts and then hot drinks for the cave parts. So, depending on what you were fighting, kind of determined what you needed to bring despite the time of day. And then in nighttime, you would need hot drinks for the entire map. So,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
uh,
For some reason, I did like for Old Jungle. I really liked the field of grass. I don't know why. It was that one random area that just had tall grass,
mm,
and I remember Gypsios running there a lot, and then the Bullfangos just kind of fucking hiding in that because it was kind of like a sickle, kind of like a really messed up sickle shape. So I remember the Bullfangos would just round that fucking corner, and I wouldn't see them, and they would just run me over. But I don't know.
yep.
I just like that one little area. Cool. So yeah. In summary, I kind of like the old swamp where it is, a little bit of the jungle, personally.
Yeah. This is a very ominous map. It's one of my favorite older
Yeah.
maps. All right. So, What else we got? Just looking for the word old. Old volcano. All right. So to me, this is one of the weakest. This is the weakest map in the old Monster Hunter games. This was a great map for like collecting ore and stuff, but
Yep.
when it came to combat and traversal, it felt because of the limitation you couldn't traverse through lava, obviously. So it limited where you could go on the map, and it made areas a lot smaller than what they looked. Um, the first few areas, the first few zones, was just flat land. You would fight Blofangos there. There would be the explodey rocks. Then you would go into the volcano, and then it would just be like these weird paths, these zigzag paths in between the lava, just leading to like the next zone, which would just be another
Yeah, I remember
zigzag
that.
path between lava. And then there would be one path leading straight to the volcano, to the heart of the volcano, where you can like mine for stuff. Um, not a fan of this particular volcano map. You would fight Gravios here often. You would fight, regular Raphalos here. Um, that's pretty much all, and Basarios, right? That's
Yeah.
the main stuff I remember fighting here. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
remember. No. Yeah, I remember not being very impressed by this. I did like that the ore hunting and later on the charm hunting was easy because this map was so simple. But no, compared to some of the other volcano maps we'll be talking about later, this is definitely it's the weakest one. But again, it's the original, right? It's the progenitor. It's this started it all. So I can't. We can discuss where it is, and I think it's in a good spot in relation to the B rank. But I think it's simply it deserves B rank simply because it's not a horrible map. It's not the pinnacle of maps. It's
I
just
mean, I'd be
right in the
okay with
middle.
putting it in C, like because I think it's
Oh,
weaker than
okay.
these. And I think even Generation Two onward, like each generation has like improved on the volcano map considerably when you compare like how well the jungle maps are from 1 to 1 onward. Like
Mm.
the leap in improvement I think is much higher for volcano. So I'm good to put it in C. I put it at the
Ooh.
top of C rank. But if there's no objection, I'll leave it here.
No, I don't have an objection. I don't remember. Like I don't have fond memories of old volcano. I have way more memories of swamp, jungle, and desert. So
Same,
yeah.
same. So that's where we're gonna leave it. Old volcano. I'm sorry, but um, that's thumbs the breaks. Let's do Fortress next. I think Fortress deserves to be B. This is where you fought Lao Shan, but and I think there's a lot of atmosphere here because it's a part of like the main town, and like the last area is the gate to the main town, and that
Yeah.
area is special on its own. But I think that area carries a lot of weight as far as like what this map means to us or other Monster Hunter fans, because really it's just a path for Lao Shan to walk in and you to beat on him as he walks through this path. That's literally it.
Yes.
It's literally a straight line. Um, this map to me is weak, and the nostalgia is what carries the map. I'd be compelled to put it at the top of C or at the bottom of B. What do you think?
Um, I think the top of C personally because if we want to kind of take the um lore significance and kind of the rose tinted goggles off, I think you nailed it when you said map wise, it's a straight line because
Mm-hmm.
that's what it was. It was a literal straight line. You picked at Lao Shan's feet. Um, was this the one that had kind of like a bridge spanning it that you can jump off of and land on his back? There, oh, it's right
Correct.
there.
Yeah,
There you
it's
go.
in the picture. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I mean that's cool because this is before mounting and wall bouncing and all that crazy stuff. So that was kind of the first time you can actually jump on top of a dragon. But if we go back to the overall map design, it was just a bridge. Like it was a bridge that allowed you to do that. And then yeah, it was a straight line until the final area, which had kind of like I guess like a half circle fighting space which was the main gate. It had the Dragonator and cannons and all that good stuff. So map design wise, I would leave it at C because it fulfills its purpose, especially during the older games where we didn't have crazy monsters with all these crazy mechanics, where Lao Shan was just difficult on the virtue of it being a big dragon. But it is a weak map. It is a straight line with a circle. So I think C is good. Is good for it.
No complaints here. I'm good with putting it in C because as a standalone map, I think it's very weak. All right, so moving on. I guess we could talk. Trying to think of another. What's Tower? Well, yeah, this was definitely in the first one, I believe. So yeah, we could talk Town and Battle Quarters. So this one, I think, is right over here. It's top of C. Because while I think this map isn't that different from Fortress, because really all it is it's just a giant circle, right? You have to defend the gate, and then there's a few side corridors that you can traverse that like is a part of the town. So like this is past the gate in the fortress into the main city or town, and like you see a few market stands and stuff like that. So I think that adds to it. It's pretty cool because you can scavenge supplies and stuff, like barrel bombs and gunpowder and
Right.
ammo, stuff like that, which is pretty cool. But like as a map standalone, it's there's not a lot going on. So
Yeah, I could agree. I mean, it is cooler than Fortress because you mentioned it, the little town area that you go through beforehand, where you see like the markets. I believe there's a fountain there. Kind of like, okay, it's cool from like a lore perspective because like, oh, this is like the world of Monster Hunter. People live here, people work here. That's pretty neat. But when you strip that cool lore aspect of it away and get to the actual map, it's just a staging area to kind of scavenge for the ballistas you're going to be shooting. The actual combat area is just a circle. And I remember being pretty annoyed because I think you predominantly fought oh my god. I know he's like a big massive crab.
the Shengoron, yeah.
Yeah, Shengoron. And I remember it would take, I don't know the exact time, but it felt like 10 minutes for him to slowly walk down his spawn area, which you couldn't get to because it was an invisible wall. And it's just like, I know that's not the map's fault, it's just how they had to design the boss in the game, but it left a sour taste in my mouth, personally.
Yeah, I get that. You also fought Teostra here in a slightly modified version of the map, where it was a little more closed off. But it wasn't that much different, quite frankly. So anyway, that's Town and Battle Quarters goes right here. I think this was introduced in 2. I don't remember if it was in the first one. Apologies. We played all the most of the mainline Monster Hunter games from like 08 to today, and so these older games kind of blur due to just time. So apologies to anybody who wants to, actually,
Hey man,
you can hit us with that. That's cool, but
we need those fact checkers. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, listen, somebody's got to do the job, right? All right, so Tower, I think no, Tower Summit was the Monster Hunter 4 generated one. I think it's Tower 3 that was in like the first one. This is where you fought Kieran, Silverophilos, Gorathian, stuff like that. This is just a flat arena. I think as a map, I think lore-wise, there's a lot to chew on here. But as far as like just a map, I think it adds. Well, let me see. Let me think about that. So if we're just going with Tower 3, which is just you start here and you fight like Kieran here, that's it, right? It's just there's no base camp really. It's just boom, here it is. I think it doesn't add anything. It's just straight to the fight, right? It's what a lot of the other games that we mentioned earlier are guilty of, where it's just like, okay, we're gonna put all the resources into the monster design and the fight, and the map is just kind of like a second thought. I think Tower, while I love this area and this has the best track in Monster Hunter franchise history, in my opinion, I think taking all of that off and just looking at it from just a level design standpoint, I think it's very weak. I'd even venture to put it at the bottom of.
I think that's.
I think I'd put it in D, right? Like,
Ooh, okay.
I think these arena areas are you know, they offer the least gameplay wise.
Yeah, I was gonna be like, I I have a funny feeling D is going to, out of all the tier lists we've done so far, I think D is gonna see a lot of work
Yeah,
because this is kind of the start of which I was telling you before we started recording that I didn't know how prevalent this was until until we looked at all the maps laid bare. This is the kind of the start of their arena phase, where from a player perspective, when I'm like 300 hours into a game, yeah, I don't want to travel the old jungle anymore to fight Kuchiladora, right? As a player, I'd rather just be dropped in the zone where Kuchiladora is. I know he won't run away, and we can just have a straight out slugfest for 5-10 minutes. But as a map design, it's the same criticism that we have to give those other hunting style games where it's just I need a place to put the player and the monster. And yeah, Tower 3 is kind of the start of that. So I mean, aesthetically, it looks cool. I like the clouds, the sun breaking through, the ancient ruins behind it. But as a map goes, it's just a flat surface, really.
yeah, and like gameplay, yeah, from a gameplay standpoint, it offers nothing lore wise, but like the everything else, like the aesthetic of it and everything, that offers a lot lore wise. There's a lot to talk about here, but from a gameplay standpoint, like it doesn't. It's the heart of Monster Hunter to me, right? And I think a lot of people would agree with this. Is exploring, surviving, thriving. You know, beating the monster and overcoming an obstacle that seemed impossible before. That's Monster Hunter in a nutshell, in just one sentence. And the tower is like it reduces that to okay, beat up this fucking mythical pony now
Yeah.
until it stops moving. This is like super meta. Like this is just okay. This is just a video game kind of map.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like this is a world where you have to kind of explore, and then there are different like creatures that live among the world or whatever, right? So I think that's the difference. So
like a lot of those maps, like the jungle and the swamp and desert, that brings to the forefront the hunter part of Monster Hunter, where it's you start at base camp. This is for anybody who's new to the series. This is before when you needed things called paintballs or psycho serum to see the monster. Like you had no idea where the monster was. You know, after 400 hours, okay, Rothian, chances are she's going to spawn in zone 6. She always spawns there. But when you're day 1, you don't know any of it.
right.
So you're literally going through the zones, hunting for the monster, which is something that, you know, as a video game player, becomes redundant after a while. But when it's your first time experiencing it, that's one of the reasons why Monster Hunter has been so successful, because of the actual hunting aspect of the creature. But when we get to the arenas, yeah, like you said, that's when it feels like a video game. It's like, oh, I need Kieran parts. Okay, let's go fight Kieran in Tower 3 and go get some Kieran horns. That's when it becomes a video game. So, yeah.
Which is fine, but for the purposes of the tier list that we're trying to construct here, it falls short.
Oh yeah, trust me. When I got really deep into the game, I didn't want to look for Kieran anymore. I just wanted to fight it because I needed his horn, and he was being a bitch and just not giving it. So yes, I wanted to go to Tower 3, but that's not. We're trying to separate that aspect from the overall tier list.
All right, moving on. So, I guess we could talk Generation 2 now, right? No, actually, where's Forest and Hills? Surely it's here. Okay, Forest and Hills. Okay, I think this is way stronger than any of the other old maps. I think this is top.
Okay.
I even venture to put it up in A, maybe,
Oh. Okay.
because this was one of the first maps that had like a lot of elevation, and I think this is what kind of inspired. I don't know. I could be dead wrong about this. This is all like speculation on my part, but I feel as though when they started making Monster Hunter 4, I think they maybe looked at things like Forest and Hills for like maybe inspiration as far as like how to design the levels, because I see a lot of similarities between like Forest and Hills and like levels like the Ancestral Steppe and like what's the other area in 4? And what was it? Heaven's Mount. Like there's a lot of similarities between those levels and this one. And this was in the first Monster Hunter game, right? This is the first encounter with Raphalos. I think this is the first encounter with John Kut.
Yes. Yep.
You know, Forest and Hills I think is awesome. It's such a great level, and I think it holds up really well.
Okay. Okay. So I'm trying to think back on the map. I do like. I do agree with you that it felt like this had more uneven terrain, because I distinctly remember, because we did it every time, leaving the base camp, and then you would go down a hill,
Mm-hmm.
and on that would be a river. That's where I distinctly remember the corner where you would get dung.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and then you would go back up a hill into that kind of like plateau where you would predominantly fight Raphalos and Rothian. Yeah, okay, yeah, it's all coming back to me. Yeah, I could agree with A. I can get behind that, because it's just again, it wasn't a flat surface. It had those different environments. I remember it had like near the back, it had a more forested, kind of like
Mm-hmm.
denser area that kind of reminded me of jungle in that respect.
Yep.
But it also had like your flat plains, and um wasn't that the area that also had like that circular area with that big stone pillar in the middle? And then you
It's,
would climb up. It's like a stone,
oh,
not like a
you're talking about the cave.
right,
Okay, so there'll be a cave where Rathian would sleep. You're talking
right,
about
and
that
you would
cave?
yeah, and then like outside of that cave was like a circuit. I remember it being a circular area with like a rock in the middle, and then you would have to climb up an edge to get to the cave where the wyverns would sleep, and then on
Yes.
the other end of the cave would be like a long drop off point where you would
Yes.
jump off. Okay, there you
Yep.
go.
That's that map. Yep.
Okay, yeah, I agree. Thinking back on it, A, because it had all that cool verticality and climbing that the other maps just didn't have. Like this is before New Age Monster Hunter, so that was pretty cool to kind of climb up and then kind of sneak into the dragon's lair. So I just found that cool, and it made for good fights. Like they were different like because of the different variations in the level. You know, I remember we would do jumps and we would knock Rothian and Raphalos out the air. So because of that, it just gave really cool moments in a fight. So yeah, I think A is appropriate. Our first A.
There was also like this. I don't know if you remember. I'm sure you remember as I'll mention it. So like in the deeper, more foresty area, there's like two. There's like the pond area, and then there's the other area where it's like this long pathway where if
Oh, okay. I didn't want to say it because I thought I was confusing it with a
no,
later Monster
it's
Hunter.
not. It's
Okay.
that was in the original, and then like if you fought Raphalos in there, he would like fucking zoop down that pathway and just shoot fireballs
Yeah,
at you.
I remember.
That was such a
Okay.
cool like little segment. And then you could like there's like little pathways on the sides where like you could sneak in and like the cats would like hang out in these little like
That was a
cave
little cat.
areas.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
All
like
right. I was thinking
this
that was
map
a
was great.
different map. Okay.
Nah, this is
Yeah,
that map. Yeah.
yeah. Definite A. Yeah, yeah. I remember
This
fighting tiny, what was it, like tiny Ergon or tiny Gravios in that little side mission with where he would have he was so small but he had the giant. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was Monster Hunter Tri, no? And you fought him in like that sandy arena.
I might be confusing it with something. Or was it Gravios that you fought? But maybe
Yeah,
I'm even confused.
You might, yeah, you might be mixing something up.
Yeah,
I
but
don't think you ever fought Gravios here, but um, you definitely fought. This is where you fought, first fought young Garuga.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Young
I remember fighting
Veruga,
him a lot here.
the Raphalos, the Lothian couple, Raphalos Rothian couple. Um, didn't you fight Young Garga here? Or
Yeah, Garuga, or that's how I pronounce it, young Garuga
okay,
or
okay,
Garga. Yeah, this is
okay,
his first appearance.
right,
Um,
okay.
and then there would be that one area. There was a glitch in the first game where, like, I think if you gave the old man a blue mushroom or something, Garuga would just die immediately,
Oh,
or
really?
something like some stupid glitch. Yeah, something with a blue mushroom.
Nice. Okay.
So anyway, that was the thing. So moving on, let me see. What other OG maps are there? The first game didn't have a snow map, I don't believe.
No, there was no snow area. That was
Uh,
two that had. Yeah.
two was the first introduction to that. Yeah. So okay, so I guess we can move on to two. We could talk second generation volcano. Um, so I think it's better than the first volcano, but I think it still suffers from all the symptoms that the first volcano had. So in this one, it was a similar start. Like you would be in this like boat or whatever, and you would go in, and like the first area would be just like flat rocky surfaces with a few explodey rocks here and there, and then you would go deeper, and there'd be two paths. There'd be a path right into the volcano, into the cave system, and then there'd be a path on the right side that would lead to like the outer side of the volcano where you would fight like the blue crabs and where you would fight lava sloth,
Right.
and
Okay.
then it would like converge into the center, into like the big round arena. It was just a giant circle with a lava pool in the center. I remember fighting Kyosha there quite often and Rajang there quite often. And then as you go further into the volcano to the top is where you would like mine the best stuff that you could find at the volcano.
Yes. Yeah. I distinctly remember. Yeah, the mining runs. Yeah.
So, not a bad map. I think a big improvement compared to the first generation map, but still, I would put it above like I'd put it at the top of C because it's better than these maps. Um, I think I can get away
I
with
think.
that.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
Um,
Yeah. I don't know. Volcano maps. Ah, man. They've always been. I guess I'll be my least favorite maps. I I don't know. I just never really cared much for the volcano maps in Monster Hunter. I would love fighting in the snow maps. I would love fighting in the swamp maps, but the volcano maps were like never my favorite. Always needed hot drinks 100% of the time.
well, cool
I
drinks,
remember
right?
cool drinks, yeah. Cool drinks 100% of the time. I remember not this one in particular, but there were different ones that had like different real little maps that had the lava, like the lava intersecting it,
Mm-hmm.
and it would just make a pain because I would have to go on the cooled surfaces where I could go, but this fucking creature's just like I'm just gonna zoom right through because I'm the boss monster. It's like, oh, okay, sure, yeah. I mean, you are the dragon. I am just the human. But
It was a nuisance. It was just
yeah,
like, I'd rather not deal with this. Like
yeah,
fighting Gravios here was like annoying because once he would get into the lava pool and he would be changing zones, like that was it. Like there was
yeah.
nothing you can do. It was like,
No,
all right, I'll see you in the next area, buddy.
yeah. So I think
Um,
there are some volcano maps later down, kind of closer in the, I guess quote unquote new age Monster Hunter that I like more. But yeah, I think C's fine. This is like you said, it's a step up from the OG volcano, but still, it's not the best.
yeah, it's needed some work. All right, so let's go on. Let's talk. Where is it? The snow map, Snowy Mountains. This was introduced in Monster Hunter 2, right? Tiger X is like synonymous with this map, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think I'm feeling it somewhere around here. I think it's middle B tier. I think it's a
Okay.
big improvement from like Old Desert, maybe even Old Jungle. Uh, I don't know if it's better than Swamp. I don't know. I'll let you talk for a second and like
Okay.
maybe gather my thoughts.
Um. Well, I did like the map because when you started it, when you started your base camp, you were at the bottom of the mountain. You were at the foot of the mountain, and that's where you had your greenery. That's where your herbivores would be kind of bouncing around. You could fight some raptors there, but every I, you wouldn't really fight anything big down there. And I did like the fact that the entire map was you kind of scaling the mountain.
Yeah.
So when you get to like the midpoint, that's when you're in the ice caves. Um, and I did like the fact that the walls were ice walls. That's where you had like the little sleeping area that some of the monsters like the Blongongas would sleep in when they were injured.
Kezu.
Kazu would also be there, yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you got to the like I guess close to the summit, that's where like the full on snow area would be. So that's where Blongonga was, that's where Tigerex would also fight, Kusha would fight. And then the summit was just one area, and it was a pretty small, considering because it's the summit of a mountain. It's a pretty small area, so it was always a lot more treacherous to fight Blongonga there, and especially Dora. And correct me if I'm wrong on this, but wasn't this the map that had that secret area that you had to kind of crawl through, climb up to the top, and there was like the shedded skin
Of a
of a
Kushaladora? Yeah.
Kushaladora, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
would get the Kezu whelps and stuff like that.
Yep.
Okay,
That was this area.
right. So me personally, I would put it above Old Swamp simply because the design of the map was you scaling the mountain. Like that was the entirety of the map. So you had
Yeah.
like different areas, obviously. You had distinct levels that you knew you were on, from like foot of the mountain to middle inside of the mountain to the upper layer of the mountain to the summit and then to like the peak with the Kushaladora. So for me, that's like great map design
Mm-hmm.
because it's not a flat area and it tells a story in its own right. So I would put it kind of where it is right now, top of B, because I just liked that concept of me climbing the top of the mountain and, you know, fighting, for example, fighting Kushaladora at the top, the top precipice of the mountain. I just found that cool. And the fact that you could jump off and jump all the way back to the foot of the mountain was like blew my mind because like, oh shit, my hunter's knees are fucking indestructible. Good on you. So yeah, I think for me personally, top of B tier because it was just a really cool design. It wasn't crazy, but I just like the fact that you were climbing the mountain as you went along.
Yeah, yeah, I'd have to agree with that. As you were basically saying, like you have to like the whole level, the map design is really you scaling the mountain. I never really thought
Yeah.
of it that way, and I think that makes perfect sense. So yeah, you convinced me. Yeah, top of B tier. Um, Maybe even here, but like for now, I'll leave it there. But I think it's a great level, and
The only reason I wouldn't put it in A is because that's me putting a lot of exposition on the map.
mhm.
It's a perfectly serviceable map, but I think I mean it's just I like the story behind it, and does that according to our criteria does that play into the overall positivity of the map, or are we solely basing it on how it functions as a battleground?
I think it both has as how it functions as a battleground, but also how it functions as like um an explorable map. Like
Okay. So if I had to go by that, yeah, me personally, I would put it low A.
low A, I can
Yeah.
I can agree with that. But behind Forest and Hills, I think Forest and Hills has a
Yes.
lot more to
Yeah, yeah,
offer.
yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Plus this is the first snow map, so I thought it was pretty cool based on that.
true. No disagreements there.
Hmm.
All right, so let's talk Generation Two Jungle. Um, Now, I personally really love this map. So this is the map you were thinking about before, where you would fight Hermitor on the beach side, and like on the other end of the water would be
Okay.
like the Aztec fucking ruin or whatever. Um,
Yes.
this map, I think. Fuck, man, I'd put this in low A myself personally. Because now I'm thinking like this map has so many different so many different things going on. So like you start off on flatland, and then you like in the very first area, right, where your home base is, there's just like this long wall, this long vine that you have to climb up to the top, and that's where you see the old Wyvern guy, right? And then
Yep. Yep.
you traverse further in, and then in the middle of the map is like just this big arena, right? But past that, there's like a cave system. To the right of that, there's like this inclined ridge for the forest, and then on the left side is like the beach, right, leading all to like the point where it points kind of toward the Aztec ruin. I think it's just a really well balanced map. This map
Mhm.
reminds me of like the general design of like Call of Duty maps, where it's just like three pathways, and then it's like up to you what pathway you
Yeah,
want
I
to
think it
take.
literally. Yeah, it had like your side lanes and it had your mid lane. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's a really well, like there's a lot of functionality with the map, and then within those each lane there's like a different uh the terrain is just different, like flatter or higher or more incline, more hills here, less hills there, because this one had a lot of like ledges and stuff for you to like use and climb on and
Yes.
utilize or whatever. So
Yes.
I really
And
like this jungle. I think this jungle is way stronger than the original jungle. I think it might be high B or low A, depending on like how you kind of see it.
uh,
I think there's less story compared to the Mountain Ridge, but like I'm good with either way. Like I'll let you kind of decide where it lands.
okay. So, hmm, I did like. I remember my favorite part of fighting in the jungle was to fight along the coast. So
Hmm.
that's mostly when we were fighting like the crabs, Plesioff, right? I do really like the Aztec zone because again, it reminded me of civilization. It reminded me that like this is a world that people inhabit. I did like that the way to get there was a beach. You had to like um, there was like a small like little break in the water that allowed you to get across. Um, this is tough because
Yeah.
yeah, there isn't much of a like a story as when you're climbing the mountain for the ridge, but it was like it took what made Old Jungle really good and kind of just like added to it and added it in a way that kind of made Plesioff and the other water creatures make more sense because now it had more like coastal areas where you would imagine, okay, yeah, this is if I had to imagine where a giant crab would live, this is where a giant crab would live.
Right.
Um, Man, this is hard. I mean,
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot there.
yeah. I guess we could leave it at the top of the B, top
Okay.
of B. I just really like the whole the visual dynamic of scaling the mountain. For me, that's just really cool.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'm not even like remotely upset at that. That makes sense. So we're gonna leave them at the top of B. Obviously, we can change it if we feel
Yeah,
like
yeah,
we
yeah.
need to later on. So let's talk the Great Forest. So this map was when this was in Monster Hunter no, this was in Monster Hunter Frontier, but it was introduced in Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, and Freedom and Monster Hunter 2G in Japan. This is where they introduced Nargacuga. This is where you fought Hypnocatrix, whatever, the sleeping cuckoo. He would throw like the sleep powder at you or whatever. Um,
Okay,
you also
okay.
fought the Great Shakalaka here as well. Um, I think for me, this is gonna kind of fall right behind Jungle, maybe above Swamp. Uh,
Hmm. Now this man, this one I don't remember a whole lot. The Great Forest. Damn, it's been a while. Obviously, it's been a while.
see, it's been over a decade since we fought
Yeah.
anything here. It's a little unfair for me because I played Monster Hunter Unite like a year and a half ago, a little bit. So I did play on this map like within the last 2 years. So like it is fresher
Hmm.
in my memory. Um, So with this one, like, how can I describe it to you? So like, you remember the intro to like Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, where at the end it would be Nargacuga like coming at you. You remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, so in the beginning of that cutscene, it was like the hunter and his cat companion, because that was the first time you had a cat companion. And then the camera would like zoom in. There would like be this giant tree with like multiple fucking branches kind of surrounding it, and it would like zoom in. It would You would see that in the distance, and it would like zoom in into Nargacuga. That's the Great Forest. So it's just like this heavily
Oh,
wooded
okay.
area, and there's
So
like a
yeah, it
little.
would be like he's a
Uh huh.
cat, like leaning, not leaning, but laying on the that giant tree
Yes,
limb.
that's this
Okay,
area.
okay. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's a good spot for it because it's it kind of feels like, I know it's not the same area, but it kind of feels like the jungle area if you left that coastal aspect and just went straight like into the jungle, where it's nothing but tall trees and these giant, massive tree limbs that
Hmm.
are big enough to support these giant fucking cat wyverns that live in it. Um, Yeah, so I kind of see it as kind of like I know it's not, but in my mind's eye, I see it as an extension of the jungle area.
Yeah,
Kind of in my head canon, like if you go deeper, you run into the Great Forest. So yeah, kind of like even the little pictures kind of look like they belong together.
yeah.
So
Funny enough.
hmm. Yeah, I think it's a good spot. I think it's a good spot.
All right.
Great Forest.
So there's the Great Forest. I guess we could do Battleground. Battleground was basically where you fought Red Fatalis as well as a Cantor, but with the lava ridges in the center and around. So you have to like kind of make these trips around the lava to get
Yes.
to the monster a little
Okay.
bit.
Nope. Do not care for it.
Yeah. So
Do
bottom
not.
of D. This is fine for that kind of monster. But you know, not exactly pining to fight anything here personally.
No.
All right, so moving on. Sorry, Battleground. That was such a quick like gloss
No,
over, but
I think it's gonna be a lot of these for these arena maps when we start getting into them. So you won't be alone.
yeah. All right, so I'm trying to think. So okay, I guess we could do this one. Tower One. This is where you fought Yamasukami. This like
Yes. Okay.
circular area. However, to get to Yamasukami, you do have to go through the tower. So like I don't know why they separated this. Is that a two? I guess tower two, huh? So like
That
the
is a two. Yeah.
towers because it kind of changes from the game to game. So like the tower, you start off at this point, right, and then like you kind of work your way toward the tall structure, and then you have to kind of traverse through the structure, and you fight like great thunderbugs or whatever on your way up. Um,
Right.
so
Yes, I
this to me
remember
is a
now.
2-in-1, because once you get to the top, you get to this area and you fight the giant Yamasukami at this like half circle arena. So for me, just putting these together as a combo piece, I think I'd put it like somewhere in between here, right, with Old Swamp and Old Jungle. Um, I'd put it probably put it below Jungle.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I gotta. Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah. I'm gonna consider them the same map because they are the same map. Um, I did like the fact that you did start on ground level and you climbed a tower, kind of the same vein as the Snowy Mountains, but this told less of a story because it felt like the first half of the tower, the bottom half, was just kind of a vehicle to get you to the Tower 2, as this tier list calls it, with the Yamasukami in it.
Yeah.
I feel like you could have just been dropped off at Tower 2 and skipped Tower 1. Because I don't remember ever fighting anything in Tower area, right?
No, at the bottom, no. I think you just
Right.
fought great thunderbugs, and that's all I remember. Honestly, there might have been some other
Yeah.
stuff, but like this is supposed to be like a secluded, sacred area. So there isn't much living here, right? So it makes sense that you don't fight anything else. Um, so yeah, I like it, right? I like the area. I think it adds a lot of lore, but
Yes, for
I
sure.
as a functional like like from just a gameplay standpoint, just like traversing the map, it doesn't offer a lot.
Yes. Yeah, I think again, why this fails to reach the same level as Snowy Mountains is because maybe it's a little disingenuous because Tower was kind of like an end game area, but again, in the mountains, you fought end game monsters, but you had the potential to fight something at every level of the Snowy Mountain, and it made sense.
Yeah,
And the tower, it was just like, okay, I have to get through the tower to get to the top. That's where you fight the thing. So yeah, I think that's why tower stays in B, because even though it kind of mimics the ascension of Snowy Mountains, it doesn't have that oomph to it where I'm fighting something at every level of the mountain. It's just you're mostly fighting at the tower 2 portion of the tower. So I
yeah,
think B is good.
it falls short. It falls short a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah.
Sad to say, but my opinion. Sorry.
Hey, that's the whole point of this, just opinions.
All right. So, um, swamp or marshlands. This was I'm trying to think. Was it different in Generation 2? I think it was the same, no? Um I think this is a remake of the original Swamp. If I'm not
I think
mistaken. I think this is just 4's or Generation's interpretation of the Swamp. So I'm just gonna put it next to Old Swamp.
yeah, makes it. I mean, mine is obviously looking better.
Sure, the graphical upgrade, but besides
Yeah,
that, the
yeah.
functionality is exactly the same. So I think
Yes, it
that's where it
was.
goes. I think that's only fair. Um, Snowy Mountains Peak, I think, is the
Wasn't that the
same
same? Yeah, I was gonna say,
as
wasn't that the same deal? Yeah.
yeah. So we'll just put it next to Snowy Mountains, right? A lot of the stuff is like Generations, like redoing stuff. So I think that's it for Gen 2. We got through that faster than I thought we would. Um, right? Let me see. Yeah, this is all Gen 3 stuff. Okay, so I guess we're on to Generation 3. So
Okay.
Generation 3 Volcano. Let's start there. Um, way better, way better than Gen 2 and 1. I would say, thinking back, I would put it I'd put it up here with Swamp, because in
Okay.
this one, so if I remember correctly, you would start off on the outside of the volcano, and then you would work your way to like this um what I guess would what I would assume would used to be a forest, right? Because it would be like trees with no leaves, and then you would see the volcano in the distance, kind of spewing lava. And once you get past like the we'll call it the former forest zone, you get to like an area where it's like you're outside of the foot of the volcano, but like there's like water. There's a little bit of water on the side, and then you have
Okay,
to like
okay.
climb a few ledges or whatever. You would see a few Rhinopolos or whatever, and then you would get inside the volcano. And then once you get inside the volcano, it was just like, unlike the old volcanoes, you see how like you see the sky and stuff. Inside the
Right.
volcano, it would just be like the ceiling, because that's how like Naktor would like drill through the ground. He would drill through the ground and the ceiling of the volcano, right? And then past that, you would be
Oh.
back on the outside, right? So you would be on the in the volcano, but outside to where you could see the sky, and you would work your way up to the heart of the volcano for mining purposes. And it would actually be like a nest at the top where things like an Eknactor would sleep. So that would be like the middle
Okay.
slash left side of the volcano, and then the right side of the volcano was is where like Aragon would live. Aragon would like roll around and stuff. Um, I'm trying to envision it because I didn't look at videos of this before starting, so I'm trying, it's just all memory. But yeah, this volcano was way better than the other ones, and I think it shares a lot of like design similarities to like the swamp and the jungle and stuff. Um,
Okay.
I'm sorry. I know. Generation 3 is kind of like a blur for you, and you played it the least, right?
Yeah, I remember I played a little bit on the Wii. That was Try,
Yeah,
right?
try.
Okay. Um, Due to circumstances, I didn't have the Wii anymore, and I kind of just didn't pick it up again. So I do remember the volcano though, because I remember distinctly Agnator, and I do remember the fact that he could drill from the top of the volcano to the bottom of the volcano, and I thought that was really cool map design. That like the creature could just like kind of worm its way through the volcano, and that again, kind of in the same vein as the Snowy Peak, um, you went into the volcano and then you went back out to like the top of the volcano.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, okay, I remember that. So I think that's pretty cool. So on that note, yes, I would agree with this B
Yeah, some
because
people
it's
might argue
definitely
that it might go above Jungle. I still think Jungle's stronger. I don't know.
nah. I
That
think
that might
the
be my
yeah
bias, but like Jungle's so good.
the jungle levels in Monster Hunter, in my opinion, are some of the strongest or one of the strongest.
Yeah.
Because they're one of the earliest maps that you kind of run into. Usually, it's like your forest and hills type area for that particular monster hunter, and then the one right after it is usually jungle for the most part. But compared to the volcano type levels we've discussed earlier, this is definitely a cut above because now it's being used in conjunction with the monsters to kind of do cool effects like the whole drilling through the mountain.
hmm
So yeah, I'm comfortable leaving this volcano in this.
All right. So moving on, Deserted Island. So this is where you fight Lagiacrus, Royal Ludroth, um, Brachiodos in Ultimate 3. This is right outside of Moga Village. Um, this map is a lot like the jungle map, but I think offers a lot more because I'm thinking more of the tri map. So the tri map, so it starts off basically outside of Moga Village. You work your way to the next zone, and it's like a river, and there's two roads you could take. You could take the left road or the right road, and the right road leads to the outside, and it kind of curves outside of the main cave and leads to like the ocean part where you actually swim and go to like the far island, the last part of the map, where you would fight Lagiacrus for the most of the encounter. And then the left hand side would lead to like the cave system where you would fight like the Great Joggy, you would fight Raphalos there, and there would also be that Raphalos nest at the end of that side. So it was like a two like a fork in the road, two main roads, kind of like a land based road and then like a ocean based road, if that makes sense.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
I think because it adds the underwater um like part of the map that's exclusive to try, I think it cuts above jungle because underwater is just a different like that's a whole new zone, right? Like, and it adds
Yeah.
way more Z access than anything else. I'd reckon I'd even put it up next to Forest and Hills.
Okay.
I know for you it's hard to say because
Yeah.
you play try so little,
Yeah.
but um, what do you think? Just based off
Um.
of what I said.
So from what you said, uh, which is funny because when we get to this other map here, it, we did see a comparison before we started, and I think this could suffer the same effect. Whereas if this didn't have that water avenue that you were talking
It
about,
would
where you
be here.
yeah, but and this is kind of like kind of changed my opinion. I still think it could have been done better, and I now when that I'm older, I kind of wish Monster Hunter didn't complete or Capcom, I should say, didn't completely abandon the idea. A lot of these maps in like the Tri area, or Tri era, I should say, because of their underwater aspect, added like a whole nother level to their map design. So
Mhm.
like if that area was just a flat surface where it was just like a flat, essentially a
I
glorified
mean,
pond.
yeah, it would honestly be behind Old Jungle because it would be one and
Yeah,
the same, really.
right. It would. Yeah. So I think the fact that you have that underwater or that water course that you could take moves it up, honestly,
Mhm.
in terms of like sheer map design. So
I think A is probably too generous. I'm gonna put it above Jungle because of the water level. Above Jungle, but in top of B. I
okay,
think that's fair. I think that's fair.
yeah, I think
I think
that's
more than that it's too generous maybe. Um,
yeah.
but yeah.
There's another map that's in this family of games that is an A rank for me, but it's definitely not Deserted Island.
I have a feeling I know what it is, but let's move forward. So let's do we just kind of go through the list here. So okay, Sandy Plains, third gen. I don't know if you remember this one too well. Um, there's a big difference between Sandy Plains third gen and fifth gen, which is the Monster Hunter Rise variant.
Okay.
Um, so this one, if I remember correct, I'm trying not to think of Rise, right? Like it's brain fucking me right now because Rise is the one I played most recently. If I'm just thinking of Try, it was a pretty flat level. There was the big like desert areas where like Diablos would eat and shit. Well, not shit, but he would eat, right? And that's the first game where he like had the where he would dig underground and do like that launching clothesline attack. I remember getting
Okay.
hit by that a lot in that area, and you would see like the I think they're called the Delflux or the Delflix or I don't know the weird fish sandfish
Oh, those
guys.
sandfish. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember hunting those guys a lot, and that's where you would introduce with Vernopolos and Baroth. That's the first time you fight Baroth, right? So, in thinking, is it better than Old Desert? Uh,
Um,
yeah, but that's not saying a lot because Old Desert was pretty like tame. Is it better than Volcano third gen? I don't think so. It's definitely not
no.
better than Swamp, and it's not better than Old Jungle. So it's gonna go behind, or it'll go above Tower. This is where it
Yeah.
feels. This makes sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I only liked it because, like you said, you fought the I get some of these monsters. Barryoff, the mud guy, right? Or is that Baroff?
Barith is the mud guy. Barryoth is
Okay.
the snow saber-tooth
Okay.
tiger. Yeah.
So I did like that because they had to add kind of like a water area now, simply for him, because that's where he would go to reapply his mud
hmm
once you broke it. So I only like the fact that they just added that because like, oh, it's a nice little water area to, which is kind of plays into that oasis area. But like I said, personally, the desert maps aren't my favorite, with the exception of maybe one in a later Monster Hunter game. So yeah, I think B is a, for me personally, a lot of the desert maps are gonna go. But
Yeah, I'm afraid so. And B's not a bad rank. This is like kind of
no,
like
no.
you know a good map, but like not exceptional, right?
Yeah.
Even though I feel bad saying that because I think Jungle is exceptional, but like that's more nostalgia and just bias talking than practicality. So
Okay. Yeah.
anyway, with that being said, let's talk Sandy Plains fifth gen, which is the Rise iteration. Obviously, it's better than the third gen because it offers a lot more verticality. Like there are certain areas you can't explore in the third that you could explore in the fifth gen. Um, I would put it like maybe like here or something like that.
Mm. Mm, yeah. Again, like the desert levels are just not the best.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking maybe. Okay, hold on. Let me. Shit. This is getting tough. All right, so I'm gonna put that there, and I'm gonna put this here because I still think Swamp is better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get you. I get you. Um, damn. Yeah, I like this because I still think the swamps are better. Like the Sandy Plain 5th gen is kind of when the desert maps are moving up in the world.
Hmm.
Um, hmm. Yeah, okay, I could agree with that. Yeah.
All right, so on to we're still doing three here. Let me see. Tundra. Okay, so Tundra, definitely weaker than Monster Hunter 2's
Yes.
snowy area. I would put Tundra probably above Sandy Plains, but behind Old Jungle.
Because this one you showed me, because this one I never got to the snow map in try. Um, so this one you showed me, and yeah, I think that's good because the snow maps in later Monster Hunters do a way better job.
Yeah, 100%.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so for my experience with Try, I love Try and all, but Tundra was, a pretty basic map. It was made up mostly of like outside snowy areas and about three areas for the cave system. And then in Monster Hunter Ultimate 3, they added an extra area that certain monsters can break through. So like fighting Ice Barith, excuse me. He can him and I think Devil Joe can break um this like wooded area into like a secret area where you would get like ancient dragon bones or whatever. So
Okay.
yeah. So anyway, Tundra is up here. I still think Old Jungle is better. That might be biased talking, but like, I think this just offers more.
I mean, as a guy who didn't get this far and try, who was shown the map, I agree because the tundra was just it was serviceable as an ice level, but that's about
But
it.
it didn't stand out.
No, did not.
Unfortunately. All right. So let's see. Oh, okay. Flooded Forest. How can I forget? So Flooded Forest third gen is fucking A tier for me. I would even put it. Hmm. No, I would put it at the bottom A. I think the Flooded Forest, because of the water segments, I think adds a lot to the level. And then I'm gonna just we could just add fifth gen. I think fifth gen Flooded Forest is very good,
Yeah.
but maybe up here. Maybe it's good, but it's like right below third gen, in my opinion,
So
because they took out the water.
okay, so this is the one. Okay. Yeah, so again, because I didn't play try, you showed me, but I did play a lot of um you know, fourth gen, you showed me this, and the comparison was night and day. Like the whole water, the whole like the fact that water was now something you could swim in third gen made flooded forest, third gen flooded forest, the superior flooded forest. Because my complaint was like, it just feels like I'm walking on puddles, like just
You know what?
very large
Am I
puddles.
crazy to put it like over here? Because if
Not
you
really.
not really, right? Because like there's verticality in this one. Maybe that's a little too rough on it. Because there is a lot of like bridges of like logs and stuff, and like there's the top of the area where you encounter Nargacuga and stuff. Like there's a lot going on here. So maybe that's a little too rough. Maybe maybe above swamp. That's tough.
But it feels like a swamp though. Like it's not the swamp map, but it feels it because they had to remove all the swimming sections, which which actually gave flooded forest its name. It was the flooded forest because you had to swim through most of it, which I didn't
Yeah.
know, which is why it's like why is this flooded forest, why does it feel so weak? It just feels like it's missing something. And after seeing it, that's what it was that's what it's missing because they had to repurpose the map to remove all of the swimming aspects, which killed the map.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really
Yeah.
did.
I'm
Now I
having a
know why
hard
I dislike it.
I have a hard time. I don't top a B really. Nah, it just feels wrong. I'm
It just,
sorry, it
yeah.
feels wrong.
Third gen flooded forest is superior. I understand why they had to change it the way they did. They weren't going to chuck a perfectly good map. I get why they had to repurpose it, but in their repurposing, it lost something. Again, it's the same. The map is more than just a thing you fight creatures in. That's why I love Snowy Peak, Snowy Mountain so much, because Flooded Forest told a story with its map design. It felt like a flooded forest where land was a premium.
Yeah.
You don't get that in the newer one. So I think that's fine. I think third gen forest, it's a mouthful. Third gen flooded forest is right where it is, and then fourth gen is right where it is.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna leave it like that for now. It feels kind of weird, because again I'm comparing like Gen 5 Monster Hunter to Gen 2 Monster Hunter, but somehow like this just feels better. I don't know. All right, let's move on. So we're still doing Gen 3. Let me see. Gen 3 Tainted Sea. Tainted Sea was Ultimate 3. That's where you fought Dire Morales. I'll put it at the top of D tier because it's the most diverse battle arena because it has the water segment amongst these two because these two are just flat lands.
Yeah.
Um, Not much else to say about it. I did show you
Yeah,
this map before we
you did.
started.
Yeah, it's another arena map. I feel like this one they kind of had to add the water aspect because that was the main gimmick for the game. So it just kind of felt out of place. It was like, oh, there's a little bit of water. You can hit his chest underwater because you can reach it. And there's a little bit of land. Fight him on. That's about it. So, well, I praise Flooded Forest because its swimming sections made the map. This one feels like, oh, that's right. Water is the main gimmick of this game. This is the final boss. We have to add water in some capacity. Okay, we added a little bit of water that he's done. Wrap it up.
Yeah, I agreed.
Monster was cool though, but the map not
Yeah,
so
definitely a
much.
cool design. I wish they made a statue of him. That'd be pretty sick. But unfortunately, 3 is not as popular overall. So,
Yeah.
all right. So moving on, I think we did all of Try and Ultimate 3. Seeing everything else is like newer stuff. All right, so on to Monster Hunter 4. So let's do the ancestral step. So I like this map a lot. I think this is a really beautiful map. The color palette is very different. The brick reds and the yellowish
Yeah,
greens. I think
yeah,
this map is
yeah.
really, really, really good. This is where you fought. They had like that webbed area where you fought. What's his name? Kachawacha.
Ketchawacha, Nasilla.
Yeah. I really like this map a lot. I think this is probably. Um, I'm thinking top B, maybe even like up here, middle A.
Um, hmm.
I don't know if it is
Huh.
above Flooded Forest. I'm thinking
Yeah, I was
like,
like, yeah, I could agree with it being A, but again, this just the whole story being told with flooded forest and snowy peaks just puts it on top for me. Like I do like this map. I remember I'm thinking back on it. I do like the plains and I do like there's like a side area where I remember us jumping off the cliffs like crazy people because that's when they added mounting.
yep.
So we would just climb to the top and then jump and then mount the creature. Um, so that was like the nice verticality that I like in these maps. Uh, yeah, I think low A for now. it may get dethroned later, but I think for
I
right
already,
now,
I can already think of a map that is better than this one
yeah,
in
okay,
4. So let's just go there. Let's just have the conversation. Where is it? Heaven's Mount. So I think this is a way better 4 map, and I think this goes here and this goes maybe here.
okay, okay, yeah, okay. Well, when you mention it like that, yeah, Heaven's Mount was an endgame map, and it felt like an endgame map, and it had everything. Like it had the mountains that you climb, it had the low valleys, it had the water encrusted the water course maps where it's just like it feels like a marshland. It kind of had a little bit of everything, not like desert or snow, but it just felt like, wow, there's some crazy shit in this probably. Um, yeah. So I think Heaven's Mount is kind of like ancestral steppy on steroids. So I think low A for that and high B. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, and this is also the first time I think I could be wrong because again I haven't played 4 in like almost 10 years. But this is the first map you encounter what's his face? Batman monster. What's his name?
Uh,
Not
Go-
Nargacuga. Gormagala, thank you. Um I don't know if you
no,
ever
no, no. You fight him. I think you fight him for like the story in ancestral steppy. That's when you first like. I
Yeah, you
distinctly.
do. You do. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
remember having more epic encounters with him here because there were those like I don't know if you remember. There's like these like tall ass walls, and there was just like 3 at one after another, and
Yeah, yeah.
like you would fight Gormagala at the top of those, and you would like go change between the 3 different levels of mountainsides or whatever, and like I just remember having epic battles there. And same with like what's this chick's name? The Metal Gear monster.
Celtis Queen
Celtics Queen, fighting her there too. Um, yeah, so I think Heaven's Mount is up here.
is yeah, yeah. I can
Um,
agree with that.
so moving on to 4, Frozen Seaway. This was where you first fight Zamtrios. I think this is one of the strongest snow maps in Monster Hunter. Trying to think, is it? I don't think it's better than Snowy Mountains though. This
No,
is the
man. I
one with the
think
tall wall. Um, I think it's a very competent map. I would venture to put it like here.
okay, okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. Cause okay, yeah. I'm trying to like go through the map very quickly in my head. Um,
So if you remember, right, this one had like you start off in the base camp, and then like there's like a river to your right, and then you go up to the next zone. And the next zone is just like an open field, with some like ledges or whatever. But then there'd be like this really giant wall that you can climb. And once you climb that wall, you get to the next zone, and then the next zone is just like this hill that leads up to like a cave,
yes. Okay. Yes.
right?
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And then on the right hand side is where you would fight Zamtrios mostly, and that would be like where like there's like cracked um patches of ice in the water or whatever, and you would fight him there. He would be on the right hand side of the map.
Right. That would be like where you were. The way that the map was designed is that you were just over a frozen lake,
Pretty much, yeah.
and yeah, and Zamtrios would. Yes. Okay. 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 Yes. Okay. Now that you've refreshed my memory, I think it's in a good spot. This is definitely when ice maps started kind of they lost their flavor after Snowy Mountains, but they started getting it back. So
Yeah,
yeah.
like Tundra and Monster Hunter 3 was like a step behind, and then
Mhm.
Frozen Seaway and Monster Hunter 4 felt like okay, you know, the snow maps felt like back to where they needed to be, which I think
Yes.
Snowy Mountains is like
It's gonna be
might be
hard to beat.
it's gonna yeah it's top, and this might be a little bit of nostalgia talking with Tiger X and everything, or Tigrex
Yeah.
as some people. Sorry,
Tigrex.
we pronounced it Tiger X back then. We've continued to do so. I apologize.
Yeah, man.
Um,
Capcom can't tell me what to do.
right. All right, so on to Monster Hunter 4, moving forward. So these two are kind of one and the same, right? Because I was like losing my shit. Like, I swear to God, this map is the same. So it is and it isn't. So the Sunken Hollow and the Volcanic Hollow are the same map, but um, obviously one has the volcano that erupted, and this is before the volcano erupts. This one has like the big jump into the cave,
Yep.
and then there's like another jump deeper into the cave. I like this map a lot. I think this is a really cool map. I like where you just kind of jump into something. Like, I don't know why that's fun, but it
That
is.
is pretty fun, yeah.
I'm gonna put Sunken Hollow. I'm gonna pair these together because it's basically the same map. I'm gonna put these. This is tough. This is tough. This is difficult. I'm gonna put it. I'm gonna put it behind Swamp. I like Sunken Hollow better than I do Volcanic Hollow,
Yes.
but I like
Yes.
Swamp more. So, yeah. I might have to swap them. I don't know, but this I feel like mid B is okay for these two. What do you think?
Yeah. If anything, I would be okay with moving Sunken Hollow up more because it's fundamentally the same map. I just like the whole water aspect of the Sunken Hollow, as opposed to all the water gets replaced by lava. Personally,
Mm-hmm.
um,
So where
but
would you put it? Would you move it up past Swamp?
no, I can't do it past Swamp though. Um, I think it's fine there, yeah, because I like it, but when I look at Swamp more, I like Swamp way more. And I feel like it would be a disservice to Swamp to put Sunken Hollow ahead of it. So,
So
yeah,
is Swamp better than Jungle?
no,
Okay.
personally.
Okay, I could agree with that. Because it's just so close between these two.
It really
It's
is.
really hard to pick. Gen 2 is so fucking godlike, and Gen 4 too. Gen 4 was amazing.
Yeah, they have some really great maps.
Okay, so oh shit, the underwater ruin. Okay, that was Monster Hunter Tri. This is where you fought Sedeus. I'm gonna put this above Titan Sea because this was a full-fledged underwater combat that you had with Sedeus, and to me this was terrifying. So for me,
Yes.
it's hell. You know what, man? I put it up here. I think it beats these two easy.
Yeah,
Fuck. Part
100%.
of me even wants to put it up here. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm traumatized by this fucking map.
Maybe S is a little bit too
Yeah, right.
much. Yeah. I
I,
think
I,
definitely. I would even put it in front of. I would put it in front of C. Really, like leader of C,
yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. I can live with that.
because it
Yeah,
was still,
it was still
if I
another,
remember correctly. Yeah, it was still like the first half of the fight was kind of the underwater version of Lacan. It was
hmm
kind of a straight because you were like swimming along with it in a tunnel,
correct.
and then when you got to the underwater ruins, it freaked me out too because that was just a big area and it was
Yeah,
all underwater. There was no there was no little sliver of land to kind of climb up on. It was all underwater and you're fighting a big whale who's literally in his element.
yeah,
Um so it is still fundamentally the same setup as Fortress, but again, being older and wiser, I think the underwater combat may not have been implemented well, but in terms of environment, was some of the best. Um,
agreed, agreed.
so definitely leader of C, because that fight was fucking nerve wracking. I didn't fight this. I got that far because I completed the village quest before I lost access to my Wii. So I got to do the village version of this fight, and I didn't like fighting Sadeas, not because he was hard, but because I didn't want to fight him in that area.
Yeah, I agree. I have nightmares of this
Yeah.
fight. Like it's
So
truly
yeah.
truly
So
scary.
fundamentally the same, but definitely the leader of C.
Okay. Tower Summit. I think this is where you fight like Lucid Nargacuga and like
Okay.
Molten Tigerex and things like that. So it's better than Tower 3 because it's the same but a little better. Is it better than Tainted Sea? Sure. It's not saying much.
Poor arena levels, man.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I mean, it's better than this. Kinda. I kind of want to put these down here
I think that yeah, yeah.
because
So
these are
that did
technically
okay.
arena quests, but just a little extra. But it does it. Is it enough to put it up here and see? I don't think so.
Hmm.
Because at least
Probably
with
not,
these,
no.
at least this, the underwater really ramps up the atmosphere factor, and then these are at least maps, right? Like
Yeah, they're
these are
full
more than
maps,
two
yeah.
zones, so
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
give it to them, right? But
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm kind of tempted to put this down here. Any objection?
Not really. No, I'm thinking about it. They're arenas with extra steps, but it doesn't have the fear factor of sea. That's why Underwater Ruin is where it is. Because if it didn't have that, then it would just be right next to Fortress. Because it is
True,
essentially Fortress.
true, true. Great Sea. We both didn't know what the fuck this
No,
was.
I had no fucking clue.
But this was like a extra quest in 4 where you fight Seregios on the water boat. Um, I'm gonna put it like right there because it's
Yeah.
maybe over here. I guess I don't even nah. I'll put it over here because you're on the same boat that you would fight like Gen Moron on, basically, but you're in the water and you're stuck. You're relegated to the boat. Like you're just on the boat fighting a normal monster. It's like it feels so
Yeah.
unnatural. It doesn't. I don't like it. It's not
Yeah,
my
I
favorite.
saw it and it's just like I played the shit out of 4 and I must have not downloaded this DLC quest or just really didn't I didn't do it because it's like oh, I don't because I vaguely remember that book.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah,
it's
that's
just an
where the Great
arena.
Sea is at. It's basically an arena quest on the boat.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
yeah, boo. Um. Okay, so we're still on Monster Hunter 4. Sacred Land. This was 4, right?
Uh
I think this is where you fight Elatrion. So this is technically 3. This is an arena quest as well. But it does add more than like Battleground. So I'm gonna just
okay.
put it right there. Um, Sanctuary, another arena quest. This is where you
Yep.
fight Shingaru Magala. I'm gonna put it like right next to Sacred Lands. Maybe I'll put it
I mean
above because it's the same thing. Let's see. The Ingo Isle. This is where you fight Raging Brachiodos. Another arena quest. Just leave it right there.
I think it looks cooler than Battleground, so yeah.
So yeah, there's the Blue Moon.
Yeah.
Sure. I know it feels like we're getting lazy with it, but like these are the arena quests. It's like these are kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
Um, oh, Primal Forest. So this map is really cool. I think this is better than Ancestral Step. Is it better than Heaven's Mount?
No, I don't know about better than Heaven's Mount. Um
Primal Forest is really cool. This is where you fought Naharala. This is where you fought Nursilla. This is where you fought Chameleos. This is where you fought Rajang. There's a lot of fights going on here. This is a very good
mm,
map, in my
it
opinion.
is. Yeah. I distinctly remember not Kui Peko. Kechawacha and Nasilla being using the map intricately as part of their move sets. Like she would swing from the top and swipe at you. He would swing and swipe at you. If he was below you, he would pop his head out and shoot at you.
Mm-hmm.
and like Nasilla would come out and swipe at you. So those were monsters that used that specific zone of the map to its fullest. Um, so now talking about that, I might have convinced myself to kind of put it in A because I don't remember anything using the map specifically to aid it in a fight in Heaven's Mount like Nasilla and Quechuacha did for the Primal Forest. I don't think so, right?
I don't think so either. So
Because
I guess we could put it here now, or maybe behind Heaven's Mount.
I just like, to me, aesthetically, I like Heaven's Mount more because it's just more aesthetically pleasing to my personal taste. But
Mm.
I I would, if I take that away and kind of like put it in terms of like the map and how it was used, knowing that monsters actually use the physical to fight you kind of puts it above Heaven's Mount in that respect. Because while Heaven's Mount's a cool looking map, the fact that monsters used parts of the Primal Forest to fight you is pretty damn cool to me.
Okay, I'm good with that. I have more vivid memories of this map than I do of this one,
Okay.
so I'm gonna agree with that. Um, okay, Polar Field, another arena quest is where you fight Eucanlos.
Yep.
Um, I think it's
I
cooler than the
I
fire
think
maps, so
yeah, yeah.
um, so there it is. Um, let's see. That's Lava Canyon. That's Rise, I believe. No, Lava Canyon was. We looked this one up, and I think this is
um
also a Cantor, right?
yes, it was, I think according to the wiki, it was strictly a Cantor map.
Okay, there right there. Um, the Great Desert. Oh shit, this is a tri map. So this is actually where you fought um Gen Moron, but like
Okay.
his mission was a little different than like because there were phases, right? So like you were on the boat and you have to like you're like surfing in the desert with him, and you're like he's attacking you and stuff, and like you're shooting ballistas at him. There's a point where he comes close to the boat. You have to jump on him, and you can break the shards on his back. You can also mine him as well. This is probably the best so far. The best like Lao Shan kind of fight amongst
Okay.
everything here. Um, it's definitely above Underwater Ruin because there's like three zones. No, two zones technically, two zones, and then like there's the final battle where he's like coming at Lao Lak City, and you have to like defend. You have to like, physically, the boat is destroyed. Now you have to fight him for real. Um,
Ah, okay, okay. Well, based on that, yeah, I would definitely move it up there because it the map transitioned from kind of like a on rails, I guess on rails shooter, sort of kind of, to an
I
actual like hunt.
I'd be compelled to put it up here and lower B. Um,
Hmm. This one's harder
no,
for me because I didn't play.
no, because I have to look at the map. Like as a map, it's down here. It's here. It's here. It's here. It's here. It's in C.
Is it? It's
It's
still
C because
below.
it's below Underwater Ruin because it's above water, but
Okay.
it is above the others because you're on a boat moving forward, and like it does more than Great Sea. Um, because you at least get to like get out of the boat and fight the thing hand to hand.
Okay.
Um, but it is just two zones really, and I'm letting the fight with Gen Moron influence my opinion of the map. So no, the map as it stands is it's basically Underwater Ruin, but on a desert land. So yeah, it's here. It's here.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. I had to like I was like fighting myself there for a
No,
minute.
no, yeah, no, you good. You're good. We're trying to keep it as fair as possible. Trying to. I know nostalgia will influence some
Oh,
placements, but yeah,
100%.
yeah.
Misty Peaks. This is portable third. I think this map is fantastic. I think it's better than Ancestral Step. This is where you fight Duramboros.
Oh
Sonogur,
yeah.
Nargacuga. This map was fucking awesome. It's still old school, so it's like, damn, is it better? It kind of is. It kind of
I
is.
can't. I remember when you said Duramboros. I remember that big, that not yeah that forest that you fought it in that had those
Yeah.
really big trees, and that he could knock the trees down and would leave the stumps of the trees there on the map. I found that so cool.
There
Like
was also
it
in the middle. It's like not in the middle, but like past like zone 2, where there's like this ancient house that's like abandoned that he can break that too. So
right. Okay. Map interaction with monsters is so cool to me. So yeah, I would leave it where it is.
yeah, Misty Peaks is fucking awesome. I'm compelled to put it in a. There's a few B stuff that I'm like, this kind of belongs up here, but let's continue. I don't want
Okay.
to get ahead of myself here. Okay, so um, oh, the Spear Tip Crag. This is where you fought Dalamador. Uh,
Hmm.
so here's my logic.
Okay.
You fight this giant snake on this like rocky mountain, and you do have to traverse parts of the mountain to attack certain parts of him. Um, and there are levels to this. So while it is an arena, it does have layers, which you do have to like kind of traverse in order to like hit him, right?
Yes.
And this was a Monster Hunter 4, so they did introduce like the mounting and stuff. So you do have to mount him and things like that. I think this offers more than the Great Desert, even though I love the Great Desert, but like I think there's more here. But the underwater, I think, trumps the climbing of this.
It's
So
something about that underwater, man.
yeah, that shit is
Um,
fucking wild. But anyway, this is where I would
yeah,
put that.
quite. Yeah, you have a way better memory of the Spirit Tip Crag than I do, because I remember just the giant snake. Like I didn't really notice the map because the damn thing was so big. I ended up
Fair
getting
enough.
lost in the giant snake. But I do remember kind of like having to scale it because he would eventually wrap around that spear tip. So I remember you would use him, and then you would use the actual spear tip to kind of go higher up on the monster. And
Yep,
there was like one flat plane, I guess towards the bottom, where you could like that's where you would start the fight essentially before you made the climb. So thinking back on it and giving it a lot more serious thought, the fact that you used the spear tip plus the actual monster to scale it was like a nice combination. So yeah, I think it's fine where it is. Definitely not B because it's kind of still on the arena side, but it is a more interactive arena fight than the ones at D currently.
agreed. I think I'm gonna move Great Desert behind the volcanoes.
Okay.
And I'm gonna put Spear Tip here. That underwater shit really trumps the
It
atmosphere
does.
of these, so I'm gonna leave this right where it's at.
Yeah. Okay.
I know it sounds crazy to some people, but like I don't know. If you played it, then you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
All right, so Desert of the Dunes. This is the Monster Hunter 4 desert. This desert was, if I remember correctly, is a remake of this desert. Am I mixing up my deserts here? I don't think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is a remake of this desert. It's way better, but it's the same. So
I is it, it th- this is 4, right?
this is
The
Monster Hunter 4, yeah. So the way I
okay.
remember this desert is like it's this desert, but with like the sands are way more wavy. Like there's actually hills here. And if you remember fighting
Yes.
Sergios, he would do that
Ye-
stupid ass fucking roller
yes.
coaster attack.
Yup.
And yeah, so that's how I remember this map.
Okay. I
Yeah.
remember that, and I remember the big areas fighting fucking Nibble Snarf.
Oh yeah,
The
that
very
guy.
few times I had to fight him, and it's just like, oh god, it's so big, and he's fucking just swimming everywhere. I want this over. So maybe that's why I have a more negative. But yeah, I mean, again, this is the problem with desert maps in Monster Hunter. Like, they serve their purpose, they are cool, but in terms of like map design, it's just it doesn't stand out.
Yeah. They're pretty plain Jane. I hate to say it, but
Yeah.
all right, moving on. We're now in the generations. Oh, actually, no, Everwood. I think this is going to be the first entry to S tier. Everwood is the procedural generated maps for Monster Hunter post game. I think this is S tier because the fucking possibilities are not endless, but like you get a lot of different like combinations, and
Yeah,
the fact that that even exists in a Monster Hunter game, I think, is deserving of an S tier.
I agree.
No
I
pushback, really?
agree. No, because what I liked about the Everwood is that they because it was procedurally generated, which always doesn't translate well. The amount the way the map looked was that some of them would be flat surfaces, some of them would be more like ancient ruins, and some of them would have like vines and netting above. So
Mm.
it kind of curtailed to the monsters that you were gonna see. So if you saw the netting, then you knew you were gonna probably fight an Asiller or a Kechawacha or something that would use that netting. If it was a flat plane, you would probably be fighting something like Orochi Kirin or maybe like not a
Teostra
Bloodgonga.
or like
Yeah, like a
Rajang.
Teostra, Rajang, yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember some of my fucking craziest depths came when we were doing Everwood runs and we would be fighting Rajang
Oh yeah.
and he would just fucking Blanka ball the shit out of us. So I liked the premise of this. So that's why I agree with you on S. We'll get to it later. There's another one is not procedurally generated, but kind of tries to mimic what Everwood did, which for me is a lot lower on the list. So I agree with Everwood
Okay.
because of that.
Fair enough. Side note: Rajang in Monster Hunter 4 is the strongest version of Rajang ever.
Ooh,
Even stronger than Monster Hunter World's Rajang. That
I'm
Blanca ball where he would jump in the air, hold, aim, hit, go back in the air, aim at somebody else, hit, or aim at the same person, hit, and he would do it 3 times in a row. The guy was such a
bro.
cheater.
You would I would get one shot every day, all day.
Well, you
Gunner
were a
armor.
gunner,
That
so yeah.
yeah. If you played Rise and you played Rajang, you have not fought the strongest Rajang. Go back and play 4.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Anyway, the Sacred Pinnacle. This is where you fight Amatsu. I'm not gonna say his Japanese translation because that shit has like 10 more syllables. But the flying wind dragon. I think I put it right up here next to Tower Summit. It's still an arena quest, but like with the raging thunderstorms and stuff, I think it adds a lot to it. But it's still at its core an arena quest, and it's
Yep.
not like it's a flat land, and you're just attacking him whenever he comes down. It's not like the Great Desert or the Spear Tip or the Underwater Ruin. I think this one is just it leans more to like Tower
Yeah.
Summit.
Yeah.
So um, there's that. I think we're hitting Mouse in the World now, right? Or actually, no, we still got some generation stuff. So Jurassic Frontier. I think this is a very very good jungle style map. I would put it right behind Swamp.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember a lot of fun battles in the Jurassic Frontier. I remember fighting Glavenus in it,
Mm-hmm.
and he would like to fight in that like. I remember there was one small strip where it was like it had a river running through it,
Yep.
and it was just kind of like a and he would just love fighting there, and it was crazy because the way because it was a cylindrical, his tail spin would take up that whole like pathway. So either you Superman dived, you somehow dodged it normally in that sweet spot, or you got hit. So
Yeah, I think.
again, I just yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I just have a fondness for like the jungle-ish forest maps personally. So I really like Jurassic Frontier. I think some old Swamp is still number one in my book, but Jurassic Frontier it comes close. It comes pretty close.
Yeah, Jurassic Frontier I think is a really good map. With, like it has all of the things that makes jungle great. It has it, but you know it's I don't know. It's just something it doesn't like. Some of these other jungle maps just have that little extra umph,
Yeah,
like you like to put, like you like to
yeah,
say. And this one, you know, it's a good map. It's a great map. It's just these are just a little better. So
yeah, yeah.
okay, so I think oh no, Forlorn Citadel. So this is where you fight the mantis monster, Atal Ka, something like that. I think this is a really cool arena. I'm tempted to put it at the top of D, um, because we never see it again, and
True.
you know, it's like a desert ruin or whatever, which is unique, right, compared to all the other um, arena quests minus the Great Desert. This is more open. This is more like a citadel, right? Like you know, it's like castles and
Right,
stuff.
because
So
like yeah, you start your base camp starts in like the castle area, and then you step outside, and then that sand area is where fucking building Metal Gears out there.
yep, that's pretty much. All right, so we're getting to the nitty gritty now. So we're now Monster Hunter World. So let's start where it all started, Ancient Forest. So Ancient Forest, I think, ooh, I think it's everything Forest and Hills is, but modernized. So it's either at the top of A or in S tier.
Okay, so I would I was thinking about it, and I was gonna say A, but the reason I say S is because Monster Hunter World, because it was on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox current gen systems at the time, they were able to do a lot with their maps. And
Yeah.
the reason why I think this is S or a strong contender for S is when you hit the top of the forest map.
Yep.
When you're at that giant tree, and the fact that either you or the monster can hit the wall, it break, and then like this whole flood of water can drag you and the monster and knock your asses all the way from the top to the lowest point of the map was fucking insane. Like beyond cool. Now, is that more like aesthetics as opposed to map design? Or is that map design kind of like done well? I don't know how you feel about that.
So I'll say this. I think if we're looking at it from just an exploration standpoint, right? Because we talked about like the different, like the reason why these are so high up is because they have like different, like little ecosystems in this giant ecosystem of different areas that kind of cater to different monster behaviors and monster ways of life. So Ancient Forest, I think, takes all of that and amplifies it because they have the hardware to pull it off. And I think the summit of the Ancient Forest, the peak where you were talking about with the waterfall, I think that just surmises like how amazing this area is. So if we're looking at it from an area to area kind of standpoint, you start off from the base camp in the bottom of the forest, you work your way out, right? And the first, because this is the first Monster Hunter where they don't use zones anymore, but I'm gonna split it up
Right.
into zones, just for the sake of simplicity here. So the first zone is this giant fucking uh, grassland, right, with a little bit of water here and there. If you go straight ahead, there's like three paths, right? So it does that Call of Duty thing again, right? Where there's the middle path, which is like deep forest, and that leads into the tree, right? Because the tree itself is its own zone, like it's its own
Yes.
multiple
Yeah.
zones, right?
Yeah.
because when you're inside there, I still get, to this day, I could get lost in the ancient forest easily. And then the far right path is more of like the woodland, tall trees, but you're still kind of outside, where you can still see the sky and stuff, right? And
Yes.
that's where you fight like Kushiladora. That's where Tobi Kadachi likes to chill, right? Then the left hand side is like more coastal. That's where you'll fight like Anjanath. That's where he likes, in this like the deep cliffs, kind of converging all to the middle, to the main forest point. So with that being said, like that to me is just like it's it's the perfect Monster Hunter map. I think they spent a lot of time on this map to get it right, because it's the map that you're first introduced to, and it's the map that you'll probably spend most of your time in as a Monster Hunter World player. So to me, it's like this is a no-brainer S to me. The more I talk
Okay.
about it,
Okay. I'd have to agree. Yeah.
so yeah, I think Monster Hunter World. I think I kind of reserved the S tier for like Monster Hunter World, Monster Hunter
I was
Rise,
thinking that. Yeah.
because those games kind of take everything that Monster Hunter was and just fucking pushes it to the limit. And
Yeah.
so anyway, you'll see that become a trend in a few minutes. So with that being said, the second map that you any pushback on that, by the way, like should I reconsider?
No, no. I have to. I just wanted to see if like I was alone in feeling the way that I felt, because like this is just a great forest map,
Yeah.
and like it's just the interactions you can have when fighting a creature leaves permanent, well, not permanent, but for the sake of that fight, leaves permanent changes on the world. It's just really cool.
Yeah, I'd agree. And then there's
Yeah.
like different, there's like claustrophobic areas in the map. There's big open spaces in the map. There's like hills. There's like, if we're going to like the tree section where you're actually in the tree and traversing the tree itself, that's like its own map in
Oh
itself,
yeah.
dude.
That one area where it's all like vines, and you're fighting in the tree, and it has
Yep.
that rock that you can hit and knock on a monster's head. Like you're fighting in the tree, and it's a pretty sizable area.
Hmm.
And it's like it's uneven because it has the slope that leads up deeper into the upper reaches of the tree. So it's not a flat area. It's kind of like a really slopey area where the boulder that's suspended in the sky is at the lowest point. And then like when monsters would run away, they would scramble up the slope to get out of the tree and move forward.
Yep.
So it's like that whole, like, because it was on next, or at the time, next generation systems, like the amount of work they could put into the map skyrocket. So yeah.
Yeah. This fucking ancient forest is goated. It's so good.
Yeah, it really is.
It's so good. And not every Monster Hunter World map is an S, just to be clear. You're gonna see that in a moment.
No, yes. Correct.
So Wildspire Waste. I think this is a great desert map, and I'd venture to say this is the first desert map that I'd put in A tier.
Yes, I was waiting for this. Yes, I agree.
Um, fuck it. I think it's top of A, because the fact that you can Diablos can fucking cause a fucking like what would you even call it, like a waterfall of sand, like he just causes a giant hole in the middle of the desert where you fall
Right.
into it, into like the lower parts of the desert where Diablo sleeps and stuff. Like the cooler area of the desert is so sick. Like when that
Right.
first happened, I was like, what is this game? So like that
Where it's like a
alone really ramps it
whole
up.
underground cave, and then there's like one lower level where Diablo sleeps, that if God forbid you decide to fight him in there, he can dive into the sand waterfall and then pop out the other side of it
Out of
to
the
just fucking,
wall. Like before it
right.
was just ground, right? It was like, okay, but this man can attack from out of the wall, which is like, I know we're not talking about like the fight specifically, but like the interactions with the environment is a part of the level design. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's relative. Um Huge. I think that really bumps it up. And I'm trying to think what else happens in the Wildspire Waste. I mean, if you played the demo for Monster Hunter World when it was coming out, this is the map that you were at, and you fought Nergigante in the Wildspire Waste in that first like muddy area. Um, so like I have a lot of
Oh
memories of
yeah,
that,
nearest to the base camp. Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
And then again, like a lot of these maps have like the fork in the road, whereas like you start off here, then you have like the straight route headed straight to the desert, then the side route where you would fight Kuliyaku, right? Then the right hand route, which is like the muddier area where you fight Gerardos and Baroth. So like
Yep.
it's separate. It does this like 3-prong fucking level design philosophy that really works really well for Monster Hunter, I think. And I hope they continue that philosophy in future games because I think it's really effective.
Yeah. I agree. I think the Wildspire Waste is the first desert map that is more than just big area, small areas. It's just more than that. It's like your main desert area and then your subterranean desert area under it. Like it finally a desert map that got to redeem itself. Took to
Yep.
world, but it got there.
But we got it. Damn it. We got it. All right. So oh, we didn't do the that's Rise. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's Rise. Yep.
So I guess we could talk Coral Highlands. Coral Highlands, I think I'm gonna do it. It's S tier. Coral
Really?
Highlands
Okay.
has a lot going on. So Coral Highlands is actually directly connected to the Rotten Vale, and you could
Oh
see that the further you
yeah.
get into the Coral Highlands, and like the Coral Highlands has so much verticality. So like if you think Coral Highlands is basically World's Tundra, but it's different because Coral Highlands is where you fight. What's this chick's name? The bird. Oh my god, super annoying Screech. Legiana. Legiana.
Oh, okay.
Legiana. Yeah,
No,
that's where you
that's.
fight.
Oh
Am I,
wait, she could also appear in the ice areas. Yeah, I'm thinking the subspecies. Never mind. Yeah, yeah.
hold on,
Legiana,
am I
correct.
fucking up here? Yeah, there is no ice area in World. The ice area is in Iceborne. That's what it was introduced. Yeah,
Yes.
so this
Yeah.
is the de facto tundra area for base world at least.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you fight her there. You fight this is where Pink Rathian's introduced. You fight
Yep.
Kieran here. I remember
Yep.
fighting Kieran at the top of the Coral Highlands where you have to climb all of that bullshit to get to the top, and this motherfuckers just hopping platforms and shit.
Yeah, and you have to climb through fog. So if you go from the top and you look down, it's just all
You see
foggy.
nothing. Yeah, you see
But you can
nothing.
again, much like the snowy peak, you can jump off and end up back down at the bottom
Hmm.
of the Coral Highlands. Yeah, I remember that.
You know, and then like there's so many like curves and like it's like a like if you go to the top, like if you went into the game in God mode and you went to the top of the Coral Highlands and you wanted to just tour the whole Coral Highlands, there's so much going on. So if we go from the top to the bottom, right, it's the top of the Coral Highlands mountain. Then the next level is like those like platforms where you fight like Kieran and like what's that
Oh
water elder
yeah.
dragon?
Oh god, it looks like a squid.
Yeah, I forget his name.
Not narwhal, right? No, no, no,
No,
no.
no, Nar was the shitty one.
Yeah, shitty
uh,
one.
it's something with an N.
Yeah,
I
it does
forget.
start with an N.
It'll come back to me later. But
Yeah.
anyway, you have that area that like the platform, the coral platforms. Then you have like then it's like there's a vine headed down to like the Legiana arena where you fight Legiana, and there's slopes the whole way, right? Like nothing is flat really until you get
Nope.
past that part. Further down another level where it's just like where you fight Tiziaku and fucking Polumu, right? Like there's like these segments like leading up to the Coral Highlands peak, right? And then not to mention like the level's so massive that like there's a point where you have to use a pulley system to get to the other side, right? There's like a whole
Yeah, I
other
remember
side
that. Yeah.
to the Coral Highlands, and then on top of that, on the left hand side of the map, like if you go deeper into the cave system, you start to see like remnants of the Rotten Vale. You're like, oh shit, what the fuck? This looks like the Rotten Vale, right? So that's obviously it's connected somehow. So like to me, the Coral Highlands, there's a lot going on, in that level, and so there's a lot of environment, and so to me, it's like I won't put it above the Ancient Forest, but like it's right there with, as far as my opinion goes, like it's right there in S tier. My opinion though. What do you think?
Oh man.
Did
I
I
mean, you
build a
made a.
compelling
I was
case?
gonna say you did build a pretty compelling case, and like the more I go into my memory banks and think about it, yeah, like, and even from like you described like the map layout pretty well, but even like an aesthetic
Oh,
take on it.
aesthetics, it's beautiful. The
Like
blues and the pinks. Oh shit,
yeah,
it
like
works.
it had the forest where the palumu, that pink forest with the white tree with the white petals where the
Mm.
palumu
Yep.
like to hang out. You had those little floating jellyfish that were all around the coral highlands that made it kind of look like an ocean in a weird way
Yep.
because it is coral, but it's not. There is no water. Well, it's not underwater, but it felt like it was underwater because it had those little jellyfish floating around. Like it was just like a nice scenic area. And then when you think about it, and that it's coupled to literally like the Monster Hunter equivalent of the underworld, right under it, it forms like a really nice like contrast, like a really nice like cohesive whole.
Yep. Agreed.
So I
To
guess we
me,
should probably mention the Rotten Vale.
well, Rotten Vale's next. So
Yeah.
I
Okay.
want to say one more point about the Coral
Okay.
Highlands.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel
Go
like
for it.
the Coral Highlands, and I said a lot. I'm sorry, but the Coral
No.
Highlands to me is like if there was like a drought, like if the world just lost like 10% of its water, right? And then like there was a bunch of underwater masses that were revealed because of like this reduction in like global water, and this there was an area untouched by man. I feel like Coral Highlands would be like a good representation of what that could look like.
Okay.
So I don't know, maybe that's too much fantasy booking, but like to me that's Coral Highlands. It's just this unmanned, untouched, pure fucking natural world that, you know, we have no right to touch. Anyway, Rotten Vale. I think it's right up here with S
He goes
tier
right with you.
because for the same reasons that I love the Coral Highlands, I think the Rotten Vale does everything that the Coral Highlands does, but on a downward trajectory, to where it feels like if there was a hell in the Monster Hunter world, this would be
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like even the air was literally poisonous to
Poisonous.
you.
Yep.
You would
Mhm.
take damage. So, and it's like this is where like the bodies of like dead wyverns like
Mhm.
your introduction was to see like the body of a you just mentioned the creature too.
Legiana.
Yeah, you would see the body of a Legiana fall into the Coral Highlands, and this is where all like the rotting corpses were, and you were literally fighting on the bodies of dead wyverns and herbivores and all
Yeah,
types
it's
of.
literally a fucking graveyard, bro. Like
Yeah,
these two maps were such a contrast. Like if we look at how many forest maps and snowy maps, and like it became like this like cliche of like, oh,
it
there's the
kind of
water
did.
level, the
Yeah,
ice level. The Monster Hunter World really said no. Let's change things up here, and let's try something new. And I think these two levels are fucking amazing. So
yeah, because like even deeper, you had that weird area with the weird like that weird water that you weren't sure you really wanted to touch.
mhm.
And then like all the way at the back where elder dragons like dang it, what's his name? It had it
Valhazak.
yeah, Val Hazak lived was like he was like it was like a mountain of bones
Yep.
just in like this weird circular area that you could break, and you can either, I believe you could flood it or you can clear the water out if you broke like a piece of it. I believe it was flooding it. But it's like that was just creepy because the,
Trying to
the the
remember
the
that.
lighting, yeah, like the lighting there was it was red. It
Yeah.
was like red, and it's just like when you first meet Val Hazak, you go into that room and it's just bones, and then like the pile of bones starts moving, and it's this weird fucking zombie-looking dragon. Like that whole zone and that whole scene was only possible because of the creepy vibes you got from Rotten Vale leading up to that like inner sanctum. Um, then like you had like the whole bone area where
Radaban.
fucking yeah Radaban would just fucking zip and fucking roll all over the place, which was like smoothed out wall so he can like roll on the wall. Lame monster, but when he did that, it was like, that's pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
But that
Yeah.
like the map allowed him to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean in summary, Rotten Vale is just from like a map design and like a lore design and aesthetic design, it just couples with the Coral Highlands so well. Polar opposites of each other, but they work so well together. They belong where they are, right next to each other.
Yep. Agreed. Um. So yeah, Rottenville, great map. I don't want to say anymore because I'll be here for another
Yeah.
hour. Okay, so let's talk Elder's Recess. This is the de facto volcano for Monster Hunter World. I think this is the weakest world map
Yes.
in the game.
Yes.
I'm trying to see where it lands. I feel like it's in B. It's somewhere in B. Um, Typically you would think I'd put it in top, like top of B. Maybe it goes in top of B. I don't know. I gotta think about it more. I gotta like kind of vision. It's okay. It is top. It's not low B. It's probably like um. I'd probably put it like right. I'd put it. Fuck. This is hard. This is not easy. Um.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to think like
Okay. So let me
okay.
talk you through the map real quick because I'm playing it in my head. All right. So Elder's Recess. You start at the top, right? Then the first thing you do is there's two routes, right? There's the route heading down into the cave, leading into like the crystallized area,
Yes.
and then there's a route to the right that leads to like the more rocky volcanic area, right? So
Yes.
like and there's like a path, there's like a wall you have to climb or something like that if I remember correctly. So anyway, like think about the what's the fight, the behemoth fight, right? You fight him in that first big zone with the giant ice crystals that you could like shoot on him, or you could
Yeah.
shoot and they fall on him, right? And so after that, it's like this weird combination. It's like two zones mixed in together. So like there's the volcanic zone, and then there's like the crystallized zone. So to me, it's like uh, the volcanic zone is very cookie cutter, but the
Right.
crystallized zone is pretty cool. Like because when you get to the middle of the map, there's like that giant arena. It's like one of the biggest fucking pieces of land in the game. Where like there's that sliding hill connected to the giant walls that you can climb up to fight
Yep. Yeah.
Kushlodora at, right? And then
Yeah.
on the other side is like the entrance to like the crystallized cave, which is where Nergigante likes to chill at, right? And further into that cave is the next cave where like you fight Silver Raphalos and go Rathian in, right? Where Nergigante sleeps essentially, right?
Yep.
And then behind that, or going back to like that big landmass, is like that route down to the crystallized arena, and then next to that, adjacent to that, is like the volcano area where you fight Basil Goose and stuff. So like, there's a lot going on that map. And now that I put that all in my head, I'm like, this is a very good map. But
It is a good map. I
it's
agree.
still weaker than everything else in World.
Yeah. 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 Like I get what they were trying to do. They didn't want to do what they did for every other volcano map and just have it be a volcano. So I'd give them props for trying something different. And I do agree. My favorite spot is the whole crystallized section with the huge fucking like crystal stalagmites that you could knock on the monster, and even aesthetically it just looks cool. I agree the volcano part just is like, oh, it's a volcano, there goes the lava. I'm not a big fan of the I guess, inner sanctum where we would fight like Behemoth. Like we fought a Behemoth a lot, so like that fight and the volcano region are kind of synonymous with me.
Yeah. That's why I
Like
brought him
I
up.
didn't. Okay, yeah, like I didn't care for that area because it had like the random jets of steam that would hit you and do damage, and maybe I'm relating it too hard to the fight because that could cause a wipe if that happened. Um, but I do like the crystal part. That is honestly my favorite part of the map. But if you hear our conversation with Coral Highlands and Rotten Vale, like the Elder's Recess can't come close to something like it just can't. Like it was a good map, and I think a valiant effort to try to steer away from the typical volcano map that they're known for, but not my favorite. I think it's respectable where it is, but it just doesn't have what it takes to reach S.
I agree. I agree. Okay, let's talk the Caverns of El Dorado. So this is essentially an arena quest. However, there's a lot going on for an
There
arena
is, yeah.
quest. I'm tempted to put it in top of B.
In front of Misty Peaks, though.
Probably not, right?
Right, yeah. Because I mean, okay. So I guess we'll be fair and we'll talk about the
Let's talk
entirety of
about
the
the
map.
entire map. Okay, so the
Yeah.
first half of the map is really boring because it's just a path, right? It's just
Tunnels,
Kultaroth walking
essentially.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sure, there's verticality with the tunnels because there's like ledges and stuff you can climb on, but like there's besides that, it's basically a tunnel, right? So
Yeah.
it's a lot
Yeah.
like Fortress. The third or fourth area, no, the third area is like this big arena, right? This is where he really starts to fight back,
Yeah.
and there's like some slopes and stuff. Pretty cool. Okay, great. The fourth area is like deeper into the volcano, and you have that pool of lava with like those little islands in the center,
Yes. Yep.
and
Yep.
this is like right before the final area, right? And this is where he gets a little more serious, and you can like shoot the pillars of lava rocks on top of him or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and so
Yep.
it becomes way more intense. And then the last area with that giant rock pillar in the center, and he takes off the coat of gold or whatever, and it really becomes like this. It becomes a true Monster Hunter fight at that point, where even the ceiling can melt lava onto you, and I think
Yes.
that's a
Yeah.
part of the
Yeah.
level, right? That's sure that's a part of him, but like again, the level's designed around his ability, so it's relative, right? I think that makes it a really badass experience. Without Cool Taroth, it is just it is just a volcano map.
Yeah.
So
Without Kultaroth, it is your typical Monster Hunter volcano.
volcano, it is super cookie cutter. So if we take out Cool Taroth and we just look at it from just a
Oh, okay.
map
Once we do
standpoint,
that,
it is a cookie cutter volcano. Putting it over here, maybe.
yeah,
Is that fair?
yeah. I think that's fair.
Okay. The Confluence of Fates. This is where you fight Xenojiva. This is effectively a very pretty arena fight.
It is. It is. Yeah.
Uh, I'm going to put it back here.
Yeah.
I'll put it up. I'll put it below Tainted Sea because there's no water. So the water at least gives you something.
True. True.
Castle Charade or whatever, where you fight Fatalis. It's a big arena. However, there's a lot going on in this arena.
Yes.
There's a
I
lot of
think that's fair.
weapons, and there is the cage.
The whole mechanic of like closing the doors so you don't get vaporized, and then he melts the entire door. this massive fucking steel door.
But if you remove Fatalis out of the equation and you just look at it for what it is right next to Forlorn Citadel.
Yeah. I mean, it is a castle, essentially.
Right, there's literally 2 zones. There's base camp and then the
And then
castle
this.
arena.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
So
No,
while there's a lot
that's
of lore, there's not a lot of like environmental functionality without the monster. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because the reason you hide under the first barrier to live is because Fatalis does a mega fire. The second reason you hide behind the giant steel doors is to avoid Fatalis's second giant barrage of fire. And then like they have the machine guns and the ballista on the track to shoot Fatalis. So a lot of it is because Fatalis is directly interacting with it, or it's tools used to fight Fatalis. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think, yeah, I think that's where it lands as a standalone map. It's don't get me wrong, I love Fatalis's area, but like, if you took him out, whatever.
It's a
Like
castle.
it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's a castle, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the Celiana supply cache. So this to me is like maybe here, because at least there's a lot. Like while it's just one area, there's a lot of cool stuff going on around. There's a lot of stuff to like discover, and it has everything that the castle has here, plus more. So for me, I just put it. I could put it above here, whatever.
Well, to me, like after hearing your description of the Great Desert, to me, the Celiana supply cache kind of reminds me of like a snow version
of the
of
Great
that
Desert.
fight. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm good. I'm good to put it like maybe above the Great Desert because there's more going on here. The Great Desert, like the big centerpiece is the boat, right? Besides, if you took out the boat, then it's like it becomes sandy plains, right?
Yeah.
So I'd put the supply cache above. And I'd keep Spear Tip Crag here only because you have the verticality.
Yes. Yeah.
So and then Underwater Ruin, we already spoke about that. So
Yeah.
Okay, so now
fair.
to the boring stuff. Everstream is right next to Fortress because that's the path where you have to fight Zor Magdaros, which is the most boring monster in history. Wyvern's End is where you fight Zor Magdaros, right?
Oh no, wait, that's Nakarkos.
Oh, this is Nakarkos. Oh, which we should do, but let's get this other guy. Great Ravine. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yes.
Yeah. Whatever. Like, I don't even care to place it in D because it's all the same. Nakarkos, the Wyvern's End. This was a pretty cool arena, but it's still like that.
Yeah. I like Nakarkos. I think he's cool, but the
Nakarkos
map
is badass, but the map is kind of like.
is...
Well, I mean, okay, so while there isn't a lot of like landmass, there's a lot going on within the landmass, right? So I'll put it above Sacred Pinnacle.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Right? Because there's a lot of history. Like if we booted up the game and we just like God moded it, right? And just paused Nakarkos and just kind of studied everything around. I feel like we'd find a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Like just looking at the models and stuff. That might be
it did have the water, and he used the water to navigate and attack you from. So it had more than that than Sacred Pinnacle, which is just a flat surface. So it had the water element to it, which makes it more interactive. With the boss monster and adds to the level as a whole. So.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I think that's fair.
Let's see. Secluded Valley or Origin Isle. This is where you fought Ruiner Nergigante. So I thought this was a cool map, and there was a lot of sloping going on here. So like I'd put this right behind Underwater Ruin.
Okay, so because we did research on this, are we counting it as just the Nergigante zone, or the Nergigante with the Oh no, never mind, because that's what Secluded Valley is,
No,
correct?
Secluded Valley is Asafi Jiva.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, so
So
this is also Shara Ujvalda's area too.
right, which are two different. Those are the Ruiner Nergigante and Shara Isvalda are two different areas. They're on the same island apparently, but they're two different like battlegrounds.
Correct. So, I
Um,
mean, if we were to combine the two, let's just make it a joint thing because they don't really
yeah,
separate it here on the tier list.
right, correct.
Um, it is really just an open field,
Yeah, I
and
mean
when
the
if
only
you
cool
took the
thing.
monster out, it's literally just a
Oh, okay, never mind. Yeah, you destroyed my
grassland,
argument. Yeah.
right? So, if that's the case, then it's like down here, right? It's maybe above Confluence of Fate.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that placement more.
Okay, so that's where we'll leave it. Um, the Secluded Valley is a much better. It's a three-part level, right? So it's not just one area; it's three main levels
Yes,
with
I remember.
varying
Yeah.
levels of like verticality and tools and stuff like that. I think this is probably one of the stronger. This is probably no. This I think so. This is the strongest like big monster level, like from a level design standpoint. The big monster encounter. Probably the best one, right? From just a level design standpoint.
Yeah, I agree because like you said, it had three different stages, so to speak, each with its own environmental hazards and its own environment weapons that you could knock Safijiva into. You can do extra damage to him, and then like the final area was like the big boss area. So the fact that it had those three different levels that took place over the course of the fight make it a better level overall, my opinion.
Yeah, so like the way I'm
Um,
looking at it as if we're putting Caverns of Dorado here, this is just a better Caverns of Dorado, maybe? They're like one and the same.
yeah, because Caverns of Dorado suffers from the tunnel syndrome, which it's a decent enough portion of the fight. Because those other parts of Kul'Taroth we didn't even get until later on in Monster Hunter World, when they gave us like true Kul'Taroth, or if I got the classification of fight that they gave.
I
So
forget,
for a
honestly.
yeah, yeah. So for a long time, it was just the tunnels and the second area, I believe, or the second and third area, because then the one where he sheds her coat, that was later on. That was like in another, not the expansion, but another update that they added.
Yeah,
So
that's right. Because there was a point in time where I think you couldn't kill her. You can only repel.
it was only a repel. Then they added the ability to kill in an update.
Yeah. Okay.
So like if we talk about what we had day one presented to us, the Secluded Valley beats out El Dorado because that was the final fight for World. Well, not the final fight for World, but it was like a final fight for like the free updates to World.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm good with that
Yep.
personally. So that leaves us with the Guiding Lands, right? Oh wait, Ruined Pinnacle. Oh, I forgot about this. This is actually Monster Hunter Ultimate. This is where you first encounter uh, Jet Dragon.
Oh,
Valstrax.
Valstrax. Yeah.
Yeah, this was a pretty cool map. I think it lands like right after Jurassic Frontier. Like it's right here in the center.
Okay. Okay. I didn't have much like experience with that map because that's Generations Ultimate,
Ultimate.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know we played Double Cross, but I just don't remember it that much. But I remember it a little bit. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Uh, Red Stronghold. What was that?
That's the stupid oh my god, when you had to like repel the monsters with the
Oh,
ballistas.
the fucking. Oh my god, the fucking Rampage quest. Alright, we'll get to that
Yeah,
in a
there you
second.
go.
Guiding Lands. So, I really like the Guiding Lands because it was a world that you could kind of like manipulate and create and build. Um, is it as good as the Everwood? No.
No. Um,
But because
I
you can create a world with like you could kind of create your own ecosystem, I think it deserves to be A.
yeah, At first, I was like, "Oh, this shit is lame as hell." Because when you look at the actual map, it's kind of just like a central zone that branches out into a little bit of everything. So you have a
Mm-hmm.
little volcano, a little desert, tundra, a little snowfield, and a little grassy plain. But I completely forgot until you just mentioned it that it had that whole ecosystem building. So if you killed certain creatures, it would or did certain things in an area, it would bring up that area's level. And, you know, that's how you got things like Yangarga, Black Tiger X. Um, you had to build up these areas. So once you reminded me of that mechanic, it's like, well, I can't dunk on you, but then praise the Everwood. So,
Right. So like
yeah,
I think it's I think the best look it's no way to really like do this now, but like the best possible combination of areas to where you could create like the most like if I could build a guiding lands for somebody for like somebody who's never really played Monster Hunter and be like, okay, now explore the guiding lands that I created for you, right? I think you can have a really compelling experience. um I think that experience will always be better than Elder's Recess because Elder Recess is just such a weak map, in my opinion,
hmm
in
yeah.
the in world, right? I think it's a strong map overall, but I think
Oh,
it
yeah.
amongst Monster Hunter World maps, it just falls short. And I think the Guiding Lands experience is just, I think it'll eke out Elder's Recess, but like because Wildspire Waste, Rotten Vale, Coral Highlands, and Ancient Forest is so uniform and fucking perfect that even the Guiding Lands couldn't beat out those areas because they're so well defined. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
Yeah, no, I get you. Like with the wildlife and the way the maps are laid out and their relation to each other, it's just it's just too perfect. While Guiding Lands, because it's an end game activity, the map was made simple because they put so much work into the, I guess, ecosystem sim that it incorporated. So they had to make the map kind of simple by
It
default.
had to be cookie cutter in order to
Yeah,
work. Yeah,
right. Yeah. But its
fair enough.
premise is really cool.
Oh, 100%. I think that's
Yeah.
such a great idea, and it's the closest we've ever gotten to the Everwood. I hope that they continue to explore that in the next entry, but
We'll
time
see.
will tell
Yeah.
on that. Okay, so we're on to Monster Hunter Rise. Stronghold, fucking bottom
Yeah.
tier.
It's
Like, let's
God bless. I fucking
fuck
hated it.
that shit.
Anytime we had to do that, I was like, oh my god, it's so lame.
And I know we're like conflict. We're kind of breaking the rule here. We're like, oh, we're just gonna look at the map as it is. But like, what is it really, right? Like, it's fucking barricades with ballistas, and then the monsters just for some reason, like Kezu's chilling with Tiger X. It's like what? Like it
Yeah,
just
like
doesn't. It takes me out of the game. Like
right,
it just
and
doesn't work.
it wasn't like a regal fortress, kind of like Fortress or Town of Battle Quarters,
It
because
just felt
all of those things,
random. It just
yeah, they could
felt
all be
super random.
destroyed too. Like all these fortifications could be destroyed. The gate was designed to be destroyed until you got to the final gate, which wasn't designed to be destroyed or you fail. So the fact that they were designed to be destroyed, once you cleared them out, they were just big empty lots essentially.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. This entire segment felt like a mobile game.
That's the reason
Um,
it didn't come back.
yep, and it should stay dead. I forgot to mention the Hoarfrost Reach. This is actually Monster Hunter Iceborne's ice map, which I think it is. Oof, is this stronger than Snowy Peaks? I think it is.
Maybe. I think it really is though. I think it.
Yeah, I think so. Is it stronger than Wildspire Waste? Yeah, because
Ah,
yeah, dude, think about it. Like, you ever made it to the summit of Hoarfrost Reach,
I'm sure
where
I
the where
have, but
the
it's
where the
been a hot
shrieking
minute.
Legianas like mate and sleep at, like the very top.
Ah, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Even
yeah,
that
yeah.
has like another, like if you curve around, like there's a secret area where like what you get like a secret item there. Like you have to take pictures for like a side quest or something, and like
Okay.
there's a you know, like they have the endemic life. There's like an endemic life that appears at a certain time of day on the very top of the mountain, and there's like a secret passageway to get there. It's like this weird jellyfish or monster or endemic life. You have to take a picture of it for a side quest. Um, like that once you
Oh
get to
shit,
the
yeah. Maybe I don't think I ever did that.
yeah, so like if you get to that point and like you look at everything and you think about like the bottom, right? The bottom with the hot springs and stuff, like there's such a climb. So I think it does everything Snowy Peaks does, but like to the next level. So Hoarfrost
Okay,
Reach, I think,
okay,
is tippy top. I think this is the best snow map in the game, in the franchise.
okay. I
No,
gotta take
no
a look at that
pushback.
map again. I mean, I kind of
It's hard to remember, right?
yeah, because I remember I don't remember the top so much, but I remember the bottom. And what I did like is that the snow was so like
Thick.
thick that your character had to wade through it. And
Mm-hmm.
I liked the effect of like you saw your character struggling to wade through the snow, which I think if they could have done it during Snowy Peak, they would have done it. But
Sure.
they obviously the technology is
Hardware
available.
limitations. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, okay, I can agree with that. I think Hoarfrost is like what they envisioned the end game for Snowy Peak to be, but they finally achieved it because it was on, some bigger, beefier consoles.
Okay, I agree. I think this is
Yeah,
what
yeah, yeah.
Snowy
Thinking about it,
Peaks,
yeah.
what they wanted it to be. And if, like when you get some time, like maybe not after this, but like at some point, like just look at like a tour of
Yeah, I
the
think I
Hoarfrost
will.
Reach, and I
Yeah.
think you'll be like, yeah, I can see what Blanca means. So all right, so back to Rise. So the Coral Palace is where you fight Narwa. It is essentially an arena fight, so it's going to go to the
Not
arena
a very
tier.
attractive arena fight either.
The fight itself is lame. However, the arena is pretty cool. Um, like just from the aesthetics of the map, I think is pretty sick. I think I could put it up here next to probably Tower 3. I could put it somewhere around here. Um,
Okay.
and I think I could do the same for the Infernal Springs. I could put it right next to it, maybe above it because of the blood water and stuff. That's kind of sick. Um, this is I didn't play here, right? I just saw a video of it in the clips. But you
Yeah.
fought the subspecies of Mizune on
Mizu.
this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean it was fine. Like I think the coolest part about it is the the red water. Um and the fact that it's coming out like it's seemingly coming out of an old corrupted like monastery, which makes up the bulk of the map, is aesthetically creepy because it feels like it's like something that should be holy but has been kind of
Tainted.
perverted.
Yeah.
Yeah, and poisoned. So like based on that visual aspect, because that's really all I have to go on because the map is simply another arena map. But based on that visual, yeah, it was a cool map to fight on. Yeah, it was
All
still
right.
just an arena map.
I moved it up because I started comparing it to like the Origin Isle and the like Confluence of Fate. I think it's from just an aesthetic standpoint, just looking at it.
Yeah, yeah,
I think there's more to offer there, and you know,
yeah.
I think if I
Wyvern's
made
End
like
is still
lore
superior,
videos on it, I think I'd find more here to talk about than I would here. So,
probably. Yeah.
okay. Wow. So we're left with the main maps of Rise, and this is a great example of why Rise was kind of like mid tier because
Yeah.
These are the only 3 original maps for Rise.
Oh shit.
So cool. Shrine Ruins, I think is a good map, very competent. However, I feel like with Rise, they took a step back from World in a lot of different categories, and map design is one of those categories. So I think this falls. I'm tempted to put it here.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking at. Yeah.
Like, there's more to offer than Secluded Valley, right? But like all these other maps offer way more, in my opinion. But then like the maps behind it, I feel like okay, I could see this being considered
Yeah.
better.
I mean, yeah, it was cool because you had the whole wire bug mechanic in Rise, so you could kind of like scale the mountains, and there was like some like forgotten temples on a couple of the mountain tops.
Mm-hmm.
They had that whole side area near the back of the map where um I know Magnamalo kind of liked to fight. Kezu, not Kezu, Camilios liked to fight when he was introduced into the game, which was it was serviceable, but I don't know, it was just something like
It felt really flat. Like it just
yeah,
again when you compare this to like Ancient Forest, holy shit, what a
yes,
step
yeah,
back, right?
yeah, yeah, and I think because of the wire bug mechanic, like I didn't need to care about the map so much because it just fucking zip. I would just zip
Yeah.
all over the place to where I want to
Yeah,
go.
the Palico and the Wire Bug made the map feel less treacherous,
Yeah,
and so like it mattered less, right? And I think they rested on the laurels of the Wire Bug too much to where it's like, okay, well, instead of it being this ecosystem, like this world that like is alive, it's more about these are different pockets of arenas connected together. Like it felt like this could be an old Monster Hunter map,
yeah, yeah.
you know? So yeah, Shrine Ruins falls smack dab in the middle of B tier. Um, the Frost Islands, is it better or worse than Shrine Ruins? Um, I would say it's better. I think there's
Okay,
more
I'm
going
trying
on
to
here.
think about it. Yeah.
I like the boat in the center that you can actually get on top of, and like there's like some secret lore stuff up there, and there's like the different like if you use the great wire bugs and you just kind of traverse around that like giant circular kind of like snowy ridges, right? It's pretty cool. Like it's a
Okay.
pretty cool
Okay.
map. There's a lot going on. Then there's like the other areas with like the heavier snow where you fight like Kezu, and then there's like the little cave system on the side, and then there's an area where you fight Gos Harag. So there's stuff.
It sounds like it's okay. It's got
It's
some
it's
cool
it's it's
stuff.
it's better than
World
Shrine
maps are
Ruin.
better.
It really is though. It really is. I mean, oh, come on,
I mean, there really is. There is no comparison. Absolutely.
like there just isn't, bro.
Hoarfrost destroys like Frost Island 10 times over.
Yeah, hundreds. Come on. Sorry. So anyway, let's get to the last one. Lava Caverns. I think this is the strongest original map.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
Um, is it better than Sunken Hollow?
I
Maybe.
mean, it kind of feels like
It
Sunken
feels like.
Hollow.
You know what's funny is when I first played this, I thought this was Sunken Hollow.
Yeah. It feels like if they took Volcano Hollow and Sunken Hollow and just kind of fused them and mashed them together, and out came Lava Caverns. Because it
True.
has the water mixed with the lava. Like the lava touches the water and you see it cooling, and it forms that hard, like volcanic rock. So like the contrast of superheated lava to cold water is cool. Like you'll have like your volcano-y type area below, your watery area. I mean, sorry, reverse that. Your volcano-y area up top, leaking
Excuse me.
into your watery area below
Mhm.
is cool. I like the like the the coexistence they have going. But yeah, it now seeing the whole thing, it looks like they fused Volcano Hollow with Sunken Hollow, and that was the map. Not bad, but
No,
my
it
ice
was a very good
standards.
map, and I think it's even better than Sunken Hollow and Great Forest. When I'm like kind of
Mm,
traversing it in my head, I'm like, there's a lot going on here. I think it's easily the strongest original Rise
yeah,
map that they have,
yeah,
and I think
one
they
hundred
know
percent.
that. So, um, so let's kind of okay. So this one's kind of bothering me. Everwood, right? I feel like it's got to get demoted a little bit.
I could agree with that. Ancient Forest was just such a superb map in so many ways. It had so much going on.
I think I'm demoting it to A, next to the Guiding Lands, above the Guiding Lands, but below Wildspire Waste, because I think these 5 maps are like I think these 4 are like fucking top. Like holy shit!
Yes.
This is what Monster Hunter level design should be. And then Wildspire Waste, fuck man, it sucks. But the fucking desert falls behind every other area minus the Elder's Recess
I
because
mean,
it's like the desert's curse or something. I
yeah,
don't know what it is.
it's rough. Desert stages are just rough because there's not much going on in a desert because it's a desert.
Yeah, I guess
Um,
so.
I mean, the upper and lower levels were really cool, and how monsters and you as the player interacted with it were really cool. But it's still a desert. I mean,
Yeah,
tough, tough
yeah,
for the deserts. But you know what? That's fair. That's fair. I think now thinking about it, I like what you accomplish in the Everwood. Like I like the gameplay that goes into it, like the armor, the special monsters. But if we peel that away and look at the map, yeah, it's a little disingenuous to kind of leave Guiding Lands where it was, but then put the Everwood higher. When the Everwood or the Guiding Lands is what the Everwood was. Like the you know, the
yeah.
Everwood was the start, and Guiding Lands was World's take on the Everwood.
Effectively, I mean, one could argue I could just do this, right? Um,
Yeah,
if we're just
I
looking
mean,
at it from just a level design standpoint and take away the game, like the gameplay perks of like the motivation of doing it as a player, like
yes,
yeah.
that's fair. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any levels that you feel like are out of place that I should move around?
Mm, I can't really say so. No, 'cause I think we did a decent job, kind of like discussing why they end up where they end up. I think the world maps are perfect. They are where they need to be. Mm, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'm really proud of this tier list.
Yeah,
I think this is like really uh I think this is really accurate to like how most people would feel who have played Monster Hunter like from the beginning to like now.
yeah,
Um
exactly. Yeah,
I know there's gonna be some pushback. I'm sure there're gonna be some like Generation 3 hunters that feel like certain Generation 3 maps should be higher. Um I know there are gonna be some people that might think, oh wow, these guys are world simps. Like they just but like listen, we've played Monster Hunter since the beginning. So like we've seen this evolution over time, over the last fucking 15 years that we've been playing Monster Hunter.
yeah.
So like I don't know. I think that gives me some.
Nah, I think we were fair to a lot of our
Yeah, I feel like that gives you
decisions.
some type of like not authority, but like I don't know. I think I've earned the chops to be able to like have this opinion because I can talk to each one. I could talk to each map, um, pretty extensively. With maybe a few exceptions. Some maps are harder to remember than others. Like this one, I don't know anything. Like I had to look up a video about this one. I was like, "What the
Yeah,
fuck is the
yeah.
Great Sea?" Right? But like, I don't feel like I missed much there. So I think I'm fine. But yeah, that's our tier list, guys. This is a 3-hour tier list video, our longest podcast video yet. If you've made it this far, God bless you, right?
Yeah, man, that's some props.
Props. I hope you took breaks, right? But
Yeah, if you
anyway,
watch this in parts, that I don't blame you. I'd probably do the same.
yeah, yeah. But anyways, this is our tier list for the maps of Monster Hunter. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, comment, let us know what your favorite map for Monster Hunter was, your top 3. What are some of the maps that you disliked? Would you change anything on our tier list here? Like, what's your opinions? I'd love to hear it. Monster Hunter is one of my favorite games. It's probably my favorite game. Um, so I love talking about anything regarding Monster Hunter franchise. So like I really enjoy these like little tier list episodes that we do.
Yeah, they're fun. Yes.
Because it's really thought provoking and it makes me think about like why I like something more than something else, and it forces me to really like extrapolate as to why. So I enjoy that aspect of it. Um, anyway, subscribe for more content. We do podcasts every single week. We publish every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern. So subscribe so that you're notified when that happens. We have a few social media pages that you can follow and check out. So we have a Facebook, a Twitter, Instagram, and a TikTok, as well as a Discord that we run. So all those links will be provided for you in the description down below. So check that out if you so choose to. Follow Mr. Esoteric. He wasn't a part of this episode, but um, I'm sure he wanted to be because this is an episode I think he would have had a lot of fun with doing.
Yeah.
But he streams on the main channel on Logical Gamers TV on Twitch. The link will be in the description. Give him a follow. He streams 2 to 3 times a week, and he streams a variety of different kinds of games, from games like Monster Hunter to games like God of War and Horizon and Splatoon and Street Fighter, and he plays a lot of shit. The guy plays everything. So check him out. Give him a follow. Show him some support. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So if you enjoyed this episode, I'm happy. Give me a like and comment. Let us know. And if you didn't, then dislike. That's fine too. But with that being said, we'll catch you in the next one. Until next time.
Catch you later.